An elite assassin named Black reflects on her past life. Her life as an assassin defined her, even in death. Betrayed, she kneels at gunpoint, targeted by her junior. In disbelief, she tearfully asks how he could do this. He remains stoic as a laser sight also targets him. He recalls their organization's absolute rule: complete all missions. She realizes their duty to complete the job applies to her. He clarifies the mission, an assassination request to execute a traitor. The assassin remains cornered by her former subordinate. He questions her mercy, and she defiantly challenges him to shoot. With a burst of speed, she lunges forward. An unseen gunman takes aim, but she raises a hand to stop them. Thump. She falls to the ground, her last effort failing. Heartbroken, he whispers that he trusted her, while she questions his sorrow. Her eyes close as she accepts that it's finally over. She died, betrayed by her most trusted junior and her organization. Adrift in a cosmic void, she wonders if a next life awaits her. Her final, futile wish is for a life free from assassination. Suddenly, she opens her eyes again, bewildered. She awakens to see two women in strange traditional clothes. The women turn, calling her Princess Baby, leaving her utterly confused. She realizes with a shock that she has been reborn as a baby. Her new surroundings are an ornate traditional room. She mentally scoffs at the folk village-like space. She despairs over being trapped in a pathetic, powerless baby's body. From her crib, she tries to understand what the two attendants are saying. Overwhelmed by the noise, she lets out an involuntary, loud "Wah!" She stares in wide-eyed confusion at the sound. With dawning horror, she realizes the baby crying is her. She quickly assesses her situation. She has been reincarnated with her memories intact. The two court ladies continue their hushed conversation nearby. A wave of joy hits her. She can finally live a carefree life, but her brief joy is interrupted by a feeling of confusion. A hand suddenly lifts her from the crib as she wonders what's happening. Held by a woman with a cold expression, she senses the dangerous atmosphere. She is suddenly placed face down on a pillow. Initially feeling its softness, she quickly realizes something is very wrong with this position. Panic sets in as she realizes she's being suffocated. The two attendants coolly state that babies die easily this way, no effort required. She realizes they're assassins and fears she'll die again so soon. A grim vision of a gravestone marked princess flashes before her. With fierce determination, she refuses to die easily and pushes herself up. Staying calm, she knows she can't flip over and must press down to create air. A sudden, loud wail shatters the quiet, startling her would-be assassins. They panic as the baby cries loudly, fearing someone will hear. The newly reborn princess glares, thinking they are in big trouble now. She quickly calculates the short length of her baby arm, 15 centimeters. Her assassin instincts kick in, confirming vital points within her limited reach. A woman in a blue dress holds a baby as a voice screams, "Die," but she calmly says boo, deflecting an attack. A blonde-haired woman checks on head court Lady Choi, who holds the baby, as the baby thinks they need a new plan. The scene shifts to a grand, sunlit palace with lush gardens and a traditional pavilion. The baby with purple eyes recalls her past life as an elite SS rank assassin who was betrayed and killed. Her reincarnation is revealed, an abandoned princess under the threat of assassination. Now a newborn in a crib, she resolves to calmly assess her new, fragile situation step by step. The blonde-haired woman comforts the dark-haired head court Lady Choi, who is crying with her face in her hands. The baby considers killing her attacker, but realizes, with frustration, that she can't even move. She looks at her tiny baby hands, lamenting her powerlessness in this new body. The baby plans her revenge as the blonde-haired woman warns head court Lady Choi that someone is approaching. The blonde-haired woman gasps in shock, announcing that His Majesty is approaching. The room immediately fills with bustling activity in preparation for the royal arrival. The baby wonders about His Majesty as a foot in a white sock steps into view. A man in ornate red robes appears, and the baby internally identifies him as the boss. Two court ladies bow deeply as His Majesty, dressed in red and gold, enters the room. His Majesty looks toward the crib and asks if this is the child, and a voice off-screen confirms it is. He leans over the crib, questioning why the baby is staring at him with such intensity. The baby deduces this young-looking man must be her biological father, the prince. While admitting he's handsome, the baby angrily declares him ugly in her thoughts. His Majesty looks down at the child, annoyed, and wonders if all babies are this ugly. A close-up reveals his cold, disdainful purple eye. He notes that, strangely, the baby isn't crying. She just stares back defiantly. The baby resolves not to cry, recognizing his familiar eyes as those that would despise weakness. A surge of certainty hits her. Her 20 years of assassin's intuition confirms her gut feeling. She remembers how crying children were abandoned during her training as a system window shows a 99.99 death probability from him. The blonde-haired woman cheerfully claims the princess likes His Majesty, but the baby silently screams, "That's not it." His Majesty skeptically asks, "Really?" as the baby tenses up under his gaze. He points out she isn't even smiling, and the baby realizes he's dangerously perceptive and remembers she's under an assassination threat. She panics, fearing the court ladies will try to kill her again once the king leaves. With a determined cry, the baby decides on a new strategy. She forces a huge, awkward smile, hoping it will convince him to take her away, but he only thinks she looks even uglier. His Majesty questions if the princess was born with madness, while the baby curses her failed attempt at gaining his attention. As His Majesty turns to leave, the blonde-haired woman calls out to him in alarm. A new woman arrives, dressed in a formal red and gold hanbok, looking surprised. The woman greets the king, who welcomes Noble Consort Go, as the baby wonders about her title. Noble Consort Go explains she rushed over in a panic after hearing the princess had a fever, apologizing for her discourtesy. His Majesty coldly questions if she thought a tyrant wouldn't act like a father. In a chibi thought bubble, his words come across as a direct threat to the nervous Noble Consort Go. His Majesty turns to the two court ladies, asking if they are the consort's people. Noble Consort Go smiles sweetly, confirming she personally assigned them to care for the princess. A horrifying realization dawns on the baby. The consort is the superior of her would-be assassins. The baby identifies Noble Consort Go as the mastermind behind the assassination attempt and begins to cry loudly to expose her. His Majesty tells the consort he's aware of her concern for the princess even before she was born. He then suggests she personally care for the princess, and she silently thinks he must be insane. Noble Consort Go proposes taking full responsibility for the princess's upbringing, but His Majesty flatly rejects her offer. The baby fumes, outraged that the woman who tried to kill her is talking so casually with the king. Wah! The baby's relentless wailing continues, flustering one of the court ladies who feels she's going crazy. Finally, the baby stops crying, now exhausted and flushed. Overcome with fatigue from the ordeal, she starts to feel sleepy. As she drifts off, she curses the fragile nature of a baby's body, a stark contrast to her former life as an assassin just hours ago. A sudden noise wakes the baby, who wonders what the sound is. Noble Consort Go laments that the king's arrival has ruined her chance to kill the child, berating her subordinate for the failure. The kneeling court lady profusely apologizes to Noble Consort Go for her failure. Noble Consort Go draws a blade on the terrified court lady, warning her to create another pretext for murder if a chance arises. She changes her mind, deciding it's better to use the child as a card to bring down another consort, Noble Consort He, later on. She orders the princess to be confined and fed just enough to survive until the king gives her a name. Smiling cruelly over the crib, she dismisses the baby as a minor annoyance she will destroy once she becomes queen. The baby meets the consort's murderous gaze with her own, silently vowing that the consort's plan will fail. Clenching her tiny fist, the baby resolves to survive against all odds. Her expression is filled with grim determination. In another part of the palace, two court ladies gossip about the tense relationship between the consorts attributing it to the king leaving the middle palace empty for 5 years. One lady explains that the king's emotions seemed to vanish 5 years ago after the queen mother's death, as the princess realizes this world isn't the historical Joseon she knew. Her narration explains this is a fictional history where the king personally names newborns and bestows titles on 10-year-old royals. Now a young child, she overhears the ladies pitying the abandoned princess and greets the mourning, knowing she is that forgotten royal. For a whole year, the king, shown from behind, has neglected to give the princess a name. Standing alone in a hallway, the now toddler princess reflects on her nameless existence. Despite her situation, she pushes herself up from the floor, determined not to live as if she were dead. Time passes, and the princess is now 5 years old. She recalls making a resolution 4 years ago to live a constructive life after realizing her path wouldn't be easy. A flashback shows noble consort Go vowing to kill her the day she becomes queen. The memory of her infant self staring back defiantly fuels her absolute resolve to survive. In a chibi-style tantrum, she bemoans her terrible luck of being used and killed in 2 consecutive lives. She stands up, declaring she can't stay this way forever. Determined, she vows to regain the strength and physical abilities of her past life to escape the palace. She strikes a cute but determined training pose. Her training session ends abruptly as she collapses from hunger. Face down on a table, she groans in exhaustion. The stern head court lady Choi looms over her, and the princess inwardly curses her. The princess explains that head court lady Choi, the consort's most loyal follower, was assigned to care for her just enough to keep her alive. Under Choi's care, she was forced into outgrown clothes and left to shiver through the winter. She fumes at the injustice of receiving only 1 meager meal a day. Realizing her current weakness, she decides her top priority is to find food, starting early in the morning. With a bright, mischievous smile, she wonders what her caretakers are up to now. She appears in the kitchen, cheerfully asking the court ladies for a single rice cake. With open arms, she approaches the 2 surprised ladies. They apologize, saying there are no rice cakes, but the princess innocently asks why. Overwhelmed by her sparkling, pleading eyes, the court ladies blush and falter. They quickly present her with a beautiful platter of rice cakes, and she beams with joy. While enjoying a treat, she invites the ladies to join her, reminding them their shared snack is a secret. She happily savors the delicious taste after her morning exercise. With a full cheek and a happy smile, she enjoys the moment. Just as she thinks she might get another piece, an angry voice demands to know what is happening. Head court lady Choi appears in the doorway, and the princess and her new friends freeze in terror. Her eyes dart to the platter of rice cakes, realizing they're about to be confiscated. In a panic, she shoves a rice cake into her mouth as a court lady gasps in alarm. The ladies frantically tell her to spit it out, but she refuses, wondering if this was a good idea after all. The scene shifts as she faces the consequences. Confined to a room, she grumbles about being grounded for a week just for eating a rice cake, admitting she was not okay. As a result, she suffered from a terrible case of indigestion. Lying in bed, she clenches her fist, more determined than ever to get stronger as fast as possible. The princess seeks a secret place to train, away from watchful eyes. She peeks past guards, searching for a secluded spot. Peeking over another wall, her search continues. Venturing into the woods, she hopes to find the perfect spot. She discovers a hidden clearing, perfect for her secret practice. Her eyes widen in surprise as she spots something unexpected. Lying in the grass, she finds a bow and a quiver of arrows. Ecstatic, she realizes her 5-year wish has come true and decides to try it. She steps firmly on the bow, preparing to take her first shot. She struggles with the oversized bow, finding it difficult to draw. Trembling with effort, she realizes her small frame is no match for the bow. Whoosh! The arrow slips and flies off just as a man in red robes appears before her. Stunned, she recognizes the king and realizes she's in deep trouble. The king and his guards surround her, their swords drawn and ready. With his sword pointed at her, the king demands to know who she is. Frozen with fear, her mind races with the gravity of her situation. He is revealed to be the tyrant king of Joseon and her biological father. Surrounded by guards, she desperately wonders what she should do now. She looks up helplessly at the imposing figure of the king. A dark thought crosses her mind. Should she try to kill him? She quickly dismisses the thought, knowing she's no match for him now. She compares her past life as a top agent to the king's ruthless reputation, unsure of the outcome. The king remains silent, his arms crossed as he observes her. He turns away and coldly orders his men to kill her, sending her into a panic. A worried official quickly steps in, pleading with the king to wait. A tense silence falls as the king looks down at the small girl on the ground. He turns back slightly, questioning if she is truly a princess. Ordering his men to stand down, he asks again as she eagerly nods. With her hands clasped, she quietly confirms that she is. He crouches down to her level, asking why she's in his private training grounds. She puts on an innocent act, claiming she thought it was a playground and the bow a toy. He eyes her skeptically, and she worries he doesn't believe her story. He surprisingly relates, reminiscing about his own childhood, leaving her baffled. As his hands reach for her, she's shocked by how quickly he's moved on. He effortlessly lifts the small princess into his arms. Startled by this sudden action, she wonders why he's holding her. He notes how incredibly light she is, and she cringes in his arms. Overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events, she feels a wave of dizziness. As his hand steadies her, a flicker of memory returns to her. He remarks that she's grown from an ugly baby into someone quite presentable. While she processes his strange compliment, he notes her killing intent has vanished. He narrows his eyes, wondering if he just imagined her hostility. Cradled against him, she admits she has no idea what's going on in his head. He gently holds her face, acknowledging her claim to be his daughter. Setting her down, he asks if she has anything to say, leaving her utterly confused. He prompts her, wondering what she's supposed to do. Apologize, perhaps. Her eyes begin to fill with tears, her lip quivering. She unexpectedly clutches his robe, asking if he is all right. She explains she was worried about him, since she almost hurt him with his own weapon. While she sincerely apologizes, glad he's safe, he privately scoffs at the idea she could ever hurt him. The king wonders if that's all, as the princess internally panics that her plan is failing. She lays the flattery on thick, gushing that she's so happy to see her father, whom she's always wanted to meet. Slightly amused, His Majesty questions if she really wanted to see him. He looks genuinely surprised, surrounded by question marks, as he asks, "Me?" The princess clings to his robe, enthusiastically confirming her adoration, even after he points out he's the heartless father who never named her. His Majesty looks down at her with a curious expression and asks why. She beams with a wide, happy smile. Her bright green handbag is adorned with pretty flowers. The king looks down at the happily smiling princess and says, "I see." He turns to leave, ordering his attendant to go back as the man quickly agrees. Alone in the woods, the princess collapses in exhaustion, admitting she thought she was going to die from the effort. A quiet moment passes in the sun-dappled forest. Back at her residence, she reflects on the fortunate, if taxing, outcome of her plan. She shudders in disgust, hating that she had to act cute to the man who abandoned her. Dizzied by the emotional effort, she realizes she still hasn't fully adapted to her new life. Standing in the courtyard, she considers the new information she has on the king, but worries about training while avoiding the court ladies. Her eyes widen in alarm as she mutters, "Speak of the devil." Head court lady Choi appears, questioning the princess's unusual behavior before ordering her to come immediately, as it's an order from noble consort Go. The princess looks up, surprised by the summons. She worries about meeting the consort so soon after the king, as the scene shifts to a building named Jipakakion. Standing with a court lady, she looks grim, wondering why the consort would call for her after nearly 3.5 years. A sharp voice from behind orders them to stop. The princess turns back, looking confused. A boy with light brown hair, dressed in blue and holding a wooden sword, confronts her, asking, "What are you?" A system window identifies the boy as the 9-year-old Prince Suyang. As head court Lady Choi greets the princess realizes who he is. The scene briefly fades into a soft, starry pattern. Prince Suyang raises his voice, demanding to know what she is. He sharply cuts off head court Lady Choi's attempt to explain, ordering her aside. Pointing his wooden sword forward, he demands to know if the princess is an assassin. He presses the tip of the wooden sword against her neck, pinning her in place. The prince accuses her of shooting an arrow at his father and demands an answer, while she panics internally at how fast the rumor spread. She internally dismisses him as just another pathetic brat trying to show off. As a system window notes, he enjoys physical activities. A system analysis concludes that the prince likely came from wooden sword practice. Her demeanor instantly changes as she sparkles with delight, asking if he's her big brother, leaving him utterly confused. She grabs his sword and gushes about how much she's wanted to see him, flustering the young prince. Continuing her act, she clutches his hand and declares her sincere admiration for him, leaving him speechless. He angrily shouts at her to let go of him. She dramatically falls to the ground with a small cry of pain, shocking the prince. The prince frantically denies hurting her as the princess peeks at him, thinking how easy this was. He hesitantly offers her a hand, asking if she can get up. As he helps her, he thinks she's grown up well, but his thoughts are interrupted by a commotion nearby. Panicked, he grabs her and warns that their meeting must be kept secret, threatening her if she tells anyone. Head court Lady Choi brings the princess forward as an unseen person tells them to enter. The princess notes she really is acting like a child. Walking along a rooftop, the princess realizes she's finally going to see noble consort go after a very long time. As a court lady announces her arrival, the princess stands before the doors, wondering what the consort wants. A voice from behind a butterfly-adorned screen simply says, "Right." Noble consort Go smiles, chiding the princess for taking so long to arrive after being called. The princess bows deeply, offering a formal greeting as the consort mockingly asks if the bad little thing has been well. The consort sweetly claims to be happy to see the princess growing, but the princess's only thought is lies. Tap. A woman's hand rests on a book, as she states a child's wrongdoings can't be covered up forever. Noble consort Go smiles coldly, declaring she cannot let the incident pass and has summoned the princess. She scolds the princess for disobeying her order to stay in the detached palace and causing a disturbance. Noble consort Go continues her reprimand, accusing the princess of embarrassing her by speaking informally to the king. She smugly tells the princess she should have stayed quiet while she was being merciful. After being insulted about her lowly mother, the princess's eyes flash with anger, realizing an insult to her parents is a line crossed. Clenching her fist, she thinks her patience is at its limit and questions who abandoned whom. A system interface appears as she considers the items she can use against noble consort Go. Analyzing the consort's intent to kill her, the princess weighs her own chances of survival if she retaliates. A court lady urgently interrupts with a report as the princess wonders if it's about head court Lady Choi. The reporting court lady bows deeply, apologizing for the intrusion. She announces the king's order to bring the princess immediately, stunning both noble consort Go and the princess. In a new location, the princess marvels at a spread of luxurious royal delicacies she's never seen before. While finding the food delicious, she eats with a troubled and gloomy expression. Looking at the sky, she wonders why she's been brought to the training grounds. She stands nervously before the imposing gates of the training grounds. The king asks if she likes the food, and she timidly confirms that she does. He offers her another treat, leaving her to wonder why he's acting this way. The king announces the beginning of the event, noting approvingly that she takes after him in her liking for weapons. Still chewing, the princess is completely bewildered by her father's bizarre behavior. Horrified, she watches the king draw his bow, fearing he's about to kill her. With a flash of blue energy, an arrow is loosed from the bow. An onlooker watches in disbelief as the king single-handedly deflects a volley of arrows. As another arrow is knocked, the observer questions if the king is even human. The princess gasps in terror, realizing the direness of her situation. Seeing an arrow flying directly at her, she screams internally that she's going to die. The king steps in front of her, shielding her with his body. The arrow passes harmlessly overhead as she remains protected behind him. A system window shows his pride is at 99 as she questions his proud, praise-seeking expression. She mentally rejects the idea that the terrifying experience was fun as attendants frantically call out to her. Waking up in a daze, the princess wonders if she is still alive. She finds herself lying safely in a comfortable bed. She dazedly counts the dragons on the ceiling before realizing the king is in the room with her, working at a desk. She bolts upright in bed, shocked to find the king so close. Her eyes are wide with confusion as she wonders why the king is right next to her. Taking in the opulent room, she panics, having no idea where she is. Wah! She internally screams, demanding to know why she is there. The king pauses his writing, noticing she's stirring. She quickly feigns sleep again, thinking she narrowly avoided a difficult situation. A hand gently touches her forehead, and she wonders what he's doing. Sitting by her bed, the king murmurs that he thought she would like the archery display. Feigning sleep, the princess is internally fuming at his strange logic and behavior. The king looks down at her with a contemplative expression, about to say something more. He gently strokes her hair, quietly questioning why she is so weak. Her internal monologue mocks his sudden attempt to act like a father. She reflects on her past life, recalling that she could never be a truly ruthless assassin. In a memory, her blood-stained younger self is questioned for repeatedly failing to kill her target's family. She reflects on her life as an assassin, trying to trust and save people. Her life ended in betrayal and death, at the hands of someone she trusted. Lying on the floor, she recalls his warning, "Don't trust or save anyone." She realizes with her dying breath that trust and compassion were meaningless. After this realization, she made a new decision. In her new life, the young princess stands before the king. There is talk that the king may finally bestow a name upon the princess. Two court ladies gossip, wondering why the king suddenly cares after neglecting her for 5 years. The princess internally notes that the king's attention has made her a target. She had been planning to build her strength and escape unnoticed. A woman in a green hanbok offers her refreshments. She now must meet the Queen Dowager, who seems to be an important figure. Sitting before her grandmother, she wonders if she's an ally or an enemy. The princess cutely nibbles on a flower-shaped cookie. The Queen Dowager asks if she likes it, and she chirps that it's delicious. She happily decides that, for now, her grandmother is an ally. But she freezes when the woman brings up the king tending to her illness. The Queen Dowager tells her not to be tense, but the princess thinks being allies is nonsense. The noblewoman sips her tea, regretting not arranging their meeting sooner. Her attendant addresses her respectfully as noble consort. The consort asks if the king has spoken of appointing a new queen. She speculates that with rebels rampant, the king's interest in the princess may signal a change of heart. She then brings up a concerning rumor. Minister Kim Jong-seo's child is rumored to be alive. The consort confirms it's a marketplace story that the minister's son survived and seeks to restore the dynasty. She explains that the Kim family produced Joseon's greatest swordsman, and any survivor is a threat. She urges her companion to secure the queen's position to solidify power. The other woman vows to work harder as the princess peeks out from behind her. The princess chews thoughtfully, feeling like she's heard of Kim Jong-seon before. She mentally assesses the other princes. Suyang is simple, but Seongnam is an unknown. A system-like file appears for Prince Seongnam, his status a mystery. She hopes he's a normal child she can make into an ally. Arriving at a desolate building, she thinks it feels too lonely. She stands alone, a small figure in a vast, empty courtyard. After the meeting, she wonders how her court ladies disappeared so quickly. She sighs, realizing her situation as an abandoned princess remains unchanged. She suddenly recalls the name Kim Jong-seo, recognizing it as a historical figure. The page of a history book appears in her mind's eye. A court lady rushes off to get a physician, sparking a familiar feeling in the princess. She approaches a doorway, wondering what the commotion is about. Peeking inside, she wonders if someone was injured during training. She recognizes one of the boys as Prince Suyang. Hearing him call the other boy Big Brother, she pieces things together. She identifies the injured boy as Prince Seongnam, who blames his brother for the injury to his eye. Peeking from the doorway, she concludes the two princes must have fought. An attendant tends to Prince Seongnam, scolding him for using real swords. The princess dismisses the injury, thinking a small cut is no big deal. Her eyes widen as she realizes she's seen this exact scene before. A dark memory flashes of someone vowing revenge for a scar on their forehead. Clenching her fist, she realizes with certainty she knows this storyline. A title card displays information and credits. A brown-haired woman narrates that as an assassin, she excelled in acquiring knowledge and deadly techniques. However, she admits there was one thing she was worse at than others. An advertisement shows a smiling man in a white shirt. She bluntly tells a man identified as her senior that she isn't interested. He persists, begging her to just read the story on his phone once. The awakened baby stares bewildered as she recognizes the web novel on the screen, realizing she's been reincarnated into its world as an abandoned princess. She recalls the novel's plot. The male protagonist, a talented swordsman's son, is raised by noble consort Go and Prince Suyang to be an assassin. The story concludes with the male protagonist falling in love, defeating Prince Suyang, and making the female protagonist queen. The baby princess pauses, a look of dawning concern on her face. Confused, she realizes her role in the story is unclear as she wasn't a main character. In a chibi-style panel, she racks her brain, trying to remember more details. She has a sudden, horrifying realization about a character's death in the original story as a sword is pointed at her. She proudly identifies herself as a princess of this world, nameless but royal, happily confirming, "That's me." The terrible truth hits her. In the novel, she dies at the hands of the male protagonist around the age of 10. She cheerfully accepts her fate as the character who dies, then immediately yells in frustration at how nonsensical it is. In a fit of rage, she rips a piece from her hair and flings it away. A purple flash indicates the object's forceful impact. Clenching her tiny fist, she declares she absolutely cannot die, as two court ladies whisper about her odd behavior. She calculates that with her 6th birthday approaching, she only has 4 years left to live. Her small hand clenches into a determined fist as she vows, "I won't die." With fire in her eyes, she proclaims she will not be assassinated, regardless of being in a novel. Against a clear blue sky, she resolves to formulate a plan. She considers escaping, but dismisses the idea, deeming the probability of survival too low. Peeking from behind a wall, she settles on the plan with the best chance of survival. A young boy with black hair and a sword appears, looking resolute. Her ultimate goal is to change the original story's flow, which is controlled by the king on his throne. Peeking from behind the wall again, she decides her first step is simply to observe. The boy dismisses his attendant to train alone. The princess is surprised he's not resting from his injury. Wondering if he has a secret training ground, she decides to follow him. She trails the boy as he walks away down a path. She follows him deep into a forest, thinking about where he could be going. He stands before a dense overgrown area which she recalls is rumored to be home to wild animals. He looks determined as she wonders what exactly he intends to do. He begins to draw his sword from its sheath. He suddenly throws a small rock deep into the foliage. A massive shadow emerges from the trees with a terrifying roar. A large wolf appears, and she realizes he intentionally lured it out to fight. As the wolf growls, she observes the boy, thinking he appears weak but might be deceptively strong. He grunts and drops his sword, proving her wrong and confirming his weakness. From her hiding spot, she scoffs at his ridiculous confidence, then has a sudden, dreadful thought about his leg. She understands now. He gets injured by this wolf, which leads to him losing to Prince Suyang because of a disabled leg. The wolf looms threateningly over the nervous, unarmed boy. She sprints from her hiding place, shouting to get the wolf's attention. With a bright, confident smile, she declares herself the wolf's new opponent. The boy desperately yells for the child to stop, warning that it's dangerous as the wolf turns to face her. Her eyes overlay with a tactical display as she coolly assesses the situation, deciding it's not dangerous at all. Her internal analysis calculates the wolf's speed and the hardness of the rock behind her. With a focused expression, she concludes that all she needs to do is dodge with perfect timing. The boy, Prince Seongnam, thinks with relief that he succeeded, while the princess sits beside him. The princess resolves that Prince Seongnam's survival is worth revealing her skills. She wonders how he will react to what just happened. He asks how she did that, and she internally notes that she has been caught. She immediately puts on a cute, sparkly, and innocent act. As he demands she stop pretending, she internally curses her situation. The prince stares in disbelief, demanding to know what she is after she defeated the wolf in one hit. Looking nervous, she realizes this has become a troublesome situation. He looks at her with complete suspicion, as a system window confirms his distrust is at 100%. She considers mixing truth with lies to get out of this, but he bluntly calls her a bastard. He flatly accuses her of being an assassin, as she feigns confusion. He presses her, asking which assassin sent her to this place. Pointing at her, he declares he won't be fooled by her innocent face. He pokes her forehead, demanding to know what she is scheming. He suddenly feels faint, realizing he needs to expose her identity quickly. A sharp ow echoes as his full weight lands on her. She struggles to hold him upright, awkwardly calling him Big Brother. Blushing and flustered, he can only think, "Is this for real?" She strains to support him, lamenting her fate of having to turn this fool into a king. Elsewhere in the palace, a rumor begins to spread about Prince Seongnam defeating a wolf in one strike. The story grows, with another person claiming he risked his life to save the abandoned princess. Two court officials marvel that the prince, known for his studies, is also a master of martial arts. In his chambers, the bandaged Prince Seongnam sits in stunned silence. The princess formally greets him, introducing herself as the unnamed daughter of the late Queen Sohyun. She beams brightly, announcing she's there to tend to his illness. Approaching his bedside, she sweetly asks how his body is feeling. He leaps up in protest, insisting she was the one who killed the wolf, but she continues her act, claiming to be the helpless little sister he saved. She feigns innocence, asking if he's talking about the terrifying wolf he defeated for her. As she continues her innocent act, he spirals into a panic in the background. He clutches his head in frustration as she showers him with praise for being a heroic and admirable ruler. He looks down, his expression showing he's still utterly confused by the situation. She smiles, saying she has something to tell him as a thank you. Leaning in, she whispers for him to dismiss everyone around them. The prince looks at her, surprised by the sudden, secretive request. He orders his court ladies to leave so he can speak privately with his sister. The door closes, leaving the two of them alone together. Now that they're alone, he turns to her and demands a proper explanation. She happily explains that rumors of his heroism are spreading, and ministers are now talking about making him crown prince, much to his shock. He rejects the idea, insisting that she defeated the wolf and he won't steal her credit. In her imagination, she remains calm as he angrily accuses her of being a rebel assassin. She clenches her fists, thinking she must make him her ally to survive the threats against her. She puts on a wounded expression, asking how he could call his own sister an assassin. He stammers as she points out that she saved his life, while his accusation is just speculation. He reluctantly agrees with her logic, and she internally celebrates that her plan is working. He clutches his head, admitting she's his savior but still unable to understand how a 5-year-old could defeat a wolf. In a chibi-style gag, a giant stone labeled talent crushes him as she speaks the word. She cheerfully repeats that it was talent, leaving him to question her meaning. She gestures to an imagined scene of her younger self having single-handedly defeated a massive tiger. The prince skeptically asks how she explains following him in the first place. She explains in a cute, illustrated sequence that she saw him go to a dangerous, restricted area and followed out of worry, finishing with a perfectly innocent smile. He compliments her smooth words, but she internally smirks at his naivete. He then asks why she wanted everyone to leave, and she reveals she has a secret proposal for him. The prince looks genuinely surprised by her serious tone. Taking his hands in hers, she asks him to listen seriously to what she has to say. She makes a stunning declaration. She can make him the sovereign of the nation. The princess looks up at him with determination as he stares back, utterly shocked. He demands to know by what means she could possibly make him the sovereign. She simply offers him a confident, knowing smile. With a dazzling, sparkling expression, she makes her proposal. Please become my disciple. An ethereal blue light fills the air, marking a moment of stunned silence. Elsewhere, an unseen person furiously smashes a teapot while shouting about incompetent handling of matters. A court lady prostrates herself, apologizing for not knowing the princess would be near the prince's training grounds, as a voice from inside asks if she really did not know. The scene transitions, cloaked in a tense, purple haze. A finely dressed woman scolds the lady, noting that everyone is talking about Prince Seongnam as crown prince material. The prostrate lady vows to correct her mortal sin. The noblewoman grabs her arm, offering one last chance to fix her mistake. She orders the servant to ensure the princess never wanders from the detached palace and is properly disciplined. With a cold, terrifying glare, she warns that if the lady fails, she will personally kill her next time. The scene lingers on the rich patterned fabric of the noblewoman's clothing. The palace rests silently under a beautiful moonlit sky. A single candle flickers, illuminating a quiet room. Prince Seongnam sits alone, deeply focused on a book. Thud! He decisively closes the book. He berates the princess for speaking so carelessly about the throne and for wanting him as her disciple, but she firmly repeats, yes, that's right. She grasps his wrist, pleading with him to trust her. Smiling with absolute sincerity, she promises to support him no matter what. The prince quietly reflects that she is, after all, just a 5-year-old child. But he then remembers her shockingly professional skill in dealing with the wolf. Troubled, he concludes there is more to her, questioning how she possesses such talent without being from the fabled Kim Jong-seo bloodline. He recalls that Joseon's greatest swordsman, born once a generation, has always come from the military Kim family. His thoughts drift to the fact that the military Kim family has vanished, while an image of the princess appears before a sword. Suddenly, a sword is drawn with a sharp clang as a voice screams for Prince Seongnam. He has a vision of a boy with a wounded eye, defiantly glaring at a girl with a long braid, who tells him to look at her. The girl coldly questions how he can protect the people if he can't even protect himself. Returning to the present, Prince Seongnam thinks he can't possibly beat Prince Suyang, who has the powerful chief state counselor on his side. He realizes that whether he's appointed crown prince or not, his life is in constant danger. He stands resolutely by his desk, his face lit by a single candle. Clenching his fist, he resolves to build enough strength to protect himself at the very least. He calls for his attendant Tae Young, who answers from outside the door. He instructs Tae Young to secretly observe the princess's every move for the next 3 days. Staring out at the full moon, he murmurs the single heavy word, king. Meanwhile, the princess sleeps soundly, snuggled tightly in her bed. Shivering, she wonders why her room feels so cold. She wakes with a jolt, suddenly realizing something is wrong. Sitting up in the cold, she discovers with shock that her blanket is gone. She wonders if she fell asleep without taking a blanket out. She jumps up and eagerly opens her wooden chest to find one. To her horror, she finds the chest completely empty, exclaiming there's no blanket at all. Shivering and confused, she rattles the locked door, demanding to know what's going on. She realizes with horror that the door has been locked. Alone in the empty room, she wonders if anyone is there. She suspects head court Lady Choi and noble consort Go are behind this. She reflects on her failed attempt to live an inconspicuous life. She decides she has endured enough and the situation must change. Cuddled in a blanket, she vows to get rid of head court Lady Choi first. A new day dawns over the palace trees. Head court Lady Choi enters, politely addressing the princess. The court lady mockingly asks how it was being locked up for 2 days. The princess shivers under her blanket, thinking how cold it's been. The court lady notes smugly that the princess has endured better than expected without crying. She offers a meager bowl of food, stating it would be a hassle if she died. She offers a deal, promise to stay away from the royal family, and she'll get a blanket back. The court lady smiles, confident that the child must be terrified. The princess calmly calls out to head court Lady Choi, who answers her. Suddenly, the princess flings the hot porridge into the court lady's face. Screaming in pain, the court lady clutches her face and demands to know what she's doing. As the bowl clatters to the floor, the princess thinks she can endure the cold and loneliness. But she absolutely cannot tolerate bad food. As the court lady shouts, the princess accuses her of neglecting and confining a royal. She adds another charge, embezzling funds from the royal treasury. The court lady stammers in shock, asking how she could possibly know that. The princess states that while she's young, she knows the lady's crimes will be punished. When the lady scoffs at what a child can do, the princess calls her ugly to the end. Her determined purple eyes stare intently. The court lady collapses, wondering how much the princess truly knows. A different court lady realizes the situation is serious and resolves to consult the noble consort as guards appear. The princess points authoritatively at the guards. She gives a command. Arrest that criminal immediately. A voice from outside protests, yelling to be let go. Head court Lady Choi insists she's done nothing wrong as she's dragged away. She threatens retaliation from the noble consort, but the guards continue to escort her out. The princess smiles, satisfied to have dealt with one of her enemies. She looks up as a man in dark robes approaches. A hand is extended toward her as a male voice asks if this is enough. She beams with a wide smile and thanks him. He is revealed to be her big brother. Prince Seongnam stands with his arms crossed, a serious expression on his face. Reading a report, Prince Seongnam reacts with shock to news of her confinement. His attendant, Tae Young, confirms the princess was locked in the detached palace for 2 days. Seongnam learns she was left alone to starve, with no court lady attending to her. He notes that the court ladies of Jibokyeon were responsible for the detached palace. Tae Young confirms his suspicions, stating this was all noble consort Go's doing. Upon learning she's been confined multiple times, Seongnam's anger grows. He slams his fist down, furious at their cruelty toward a 5-year-old. Tae Young looks toward a wooden chest and asks the prince what he will do. Seongnam states that as a royal, it is not his responsibility to handle abandoned royals. However, he declares he will abandon that principle in this case. He resolves to act on his duty as family and as a human being. Tae Young looks on, moved by his prince's heartfelt decision. Alone in the detached palace, she enjoys a snack. She believes she's finally alone, but Prince Seongnam and his attendant appear. Their unexpected arrival flusters her, ruining her quiet moment. Seongnam assumes court ladies brought her food, but she corrects him, stating she brought it. She scoffs at his crude method of removing door hinges when he could have just picked the lock. He dismisses her ability to open a locked door, but she insists she did it herself. She proudly declares that she picked the lock open. She reveals her secret tool, stunning him with its simplicity. He skeptically questions what she could possibly do with a single tiny needle. With a flick of her hand, she magically opens the locked door before his eyes. He points in disbelief, asking if she just opened it. She calmly confirms she did. As she looks on nervously, he begins to understand her true nature. He declares she's not an assassin but a thief, earning an angry denial. She deflects, asking why he entered through a window. He explains it was to avoid provoking the noble consort. She worries that her brother will get into trouble for helping her. He clarifies his actions were based on his own beliefs and morality, not just for her. She thinks his speech is so old-fashioned, it's almost sleep-inducing. Despite his formal words, she can't help but smile warmly. She recalls how he put her safety first when they encountered danger. Realizing his selflessness, she believes he has the qualities of a wise king. A vision of a magnificent king on the throne flashes in her mind. She reaches out to her brother, offering to make him the king. She confidently lists her various talents, and he dryly agrees. He admits that while her offer seemed absurd, she might be the breakthrough he needs for his training. He asks to clarify one thing, and she eagerly asks what it is. He asks what she gains from their arrangement, and she confirms there is something. She reveals the noble consort's threat to kill her. Prince Seongnam is visibly shocked to hear of the consort's threat. She explains that she's powerless against an official order, no matter her skills. Clenching his fist, he asks if what she says is true. She looks at him earnestly, confirming it is the absolute truth. She calls out to her big brother. She clarifies her only desire is his protection, not power or gold. A voice from inside agrees to her terms, deciding to try it. Overjoyed, she gasps and asks if he really means it. He smirks, commenting on her luxurious snacks despite her situation. He agrees to become her disciple, curious to witness her talents firsthand. They gaze at each other, their new alliance sealed. He then asks for her name, much to her surprise. She explains her poor living conditions, lacking even basic furniture. With a sly grin, she puts a finger to her lips. Elsewhere, a man shouts in protest, demanding to be let go. The princess stands beside Prince Seongnam, who is now in formal attire. An official is dragged away by guards, screaming his innocence. Seongnam tells her that thanks are unnecessary. He claims he was simply acting as a disciple should for a teacher in trouble. He reveals he knows she plans to make him king, defying his original tragic fate. She smiles, reflecting that Prince Seongnam officially became her disciple yesterday. A sudden unease hits her as she wonders if things are going too smoothly. In a palace kitchen, a conversation starts about Prince Seongnam. Two court ladies gossip about Prince Seongnam's recent triumph over an embezzler. They realized the arrested woman was the one who abused the princess. Unaware of the gossip, the princess quietly enjoys a snack. With her cheeks full, she listens intently to the conversation nearby. She overhears the court ladies fawning over how handsome the prince looked. As the ladies swoon, the princess peeks over a wall with a deadpan expression. She stands up, thinking that gaining supporters is good, but something feels off. A sense of unease washes over her, feeling things are going too smoothly. A court lady approaches, asking what she's doing there alone. Summoned by the noble consort, she fears her good luck has run out. A voice announces her arrival at the consort's residence. The scene shifts to the ornate and intimidating palace pavilion. Entering the room, she steels herself, confident she handled head court Lady Choi justly. As she offers her greetings, the noble consort chides her for being late. The consort gets straight to the point, her brush poised over paper. The noble consort directly accuses her of having head court Lady Choi expelled. The princess explains that her big brother was the one who punished the court lady. The consort asks a pointed question: why are royals abandoned? She lectures that it's because they're not recognized, mocking the princess for calling Seongnam brother. Annoyed, the princess thinks the consort is just looking for a fight. She apologizes without sincerity as the consort defends the loyal head court Lady Choi. The consort laments losing one of the few trustworthy people in the palace. She coldly states that even cherished things must be discarded when they rot. The camera lingers on a set of fine calligraphy brushes. The consort leans forward, asking the princess if she knows about pests. Holding a cloth, she makes a veiled threat about how orchids can die from them. The princess watches the consort, her expression unreadable. She knows the official story, pins the blame on Prince Seongnam. But she understands the noble consort blames her for everything. Clenching her fists, she realizes the consort has no proof. She cheekily wonders aloud if being a pest is a good thing. The noble consort lets out a hollow, dismissive laugh. She patronizingly claims the uneducated princess wouldn't know such words. The princess maintains her sweet, innocent smile. Whoosh! The consort suddenly splashes ink on her, declaring it's poison for a pest. Humiliated on the floor, she resolves to endure as the consort asks if she understands now. She tells herself she must withstand this, as things had been going too well. With ink staining her face, she remains silent and still. Her look of submission hardens into one of pure, contained rage. A murderous thought flashes through her mind. She could kill the consort in 3 seconds. Suddenly, another court lady bursts in, demanding to know what's happening. The noble consort remains silent, slightly taken aback by the interruption. The consort lies, calling it an accident, but the newcomer angrily points out the trembling, ink-covered child. The court lady rushes to the princess's side while her superior fumes. She gently checks on the princess, asking if she is all right. The court lady fiercely reminds the consort that the king has taken an interest in the princess. She scolds the consort for treating the king's interest like a toy to vent anger on. The consort's hand rests tensely on her desk. The court lady declares the king has given her full authority over the princess's upbringing. Whack, the queen dowager delivers a powerful slap to the noble consort. The queen dowager stands firm, her expression a mix of shock and fury. The noble consort realizes the king himself ordered the queen dowager to protect the princess. The queen dowager demands to know how this happened, while the flustered noble consort claims the king's judgment was correct and she was merely investigating an unruly subordinate. Noble consort Hong He arrives and formally apologizes to the queen dowager. Hong He asks permission to take the princess, and the queen dowager sternly grants it. Hong He gently places a reassuring hand on the ink-stained princess. She pulls the bewildered princess close, offering her comfort. An attendant announces the arrival of requested items for a bath. Hong He leads the princess away, telling an attendant she will handle the bath herself. Hong Hui tenderly offers to wipe the ink from the princess's face. The princess feels a comforting warmth as her face is gently cleaned. She ponders why the famously secluded and powerless noble consort Hong He would intervene for her. Hong He looks at her kindly, asking if she can see clearly now. A trace of ink remains on Hong He's sleeve, a mark of her kindness. The princess asks why she was brought here, knowing Prince Xiangnam wouldn't have involved his mother. Hong He gently asks if the princess didn't want to come with her. The princess quickly denies it, flustered by the question. Looking down, she admits she doesn't understand why she was saved. As Hong He watches her, the princess silently wonders about her motives. She calls herself a nameless, abandoned princess, unworthy of such help. The princess explains that harming her violates no laws. Hong He insists that her actions have nothing to do with the law. The princess looks up, surprised and touched by the unexpected response. Hong He reaches out and gently takes the princess's hands. The two hold hands, sharing a quiet, meaningful moment. Hong He smiles warmly, calling her actions a natural thing to do, which confuses the princess. The princess recalls her cynical past life belief that all human actions are driven by self-interest. Her memory shows people moving only for their own benefit. Humanity is depicted as walking paths defined by the pursuit of money. Though she once believed this was human nature, she finds she still doesn't understand Hong He's kindness. Hong He asks the princess to open her hand for a moment. The princess hesitantly offers her hand, questioning the request. Looking at the small hand, Hong He fondly remembers when her own were that small. She gently compares the size of her hand to the princess's. They share a sweet moment, their hands pressed together. Hong He gives a bright, heartwarming smile. She tells the little girl that she is the one precious daughter in the world, leaving the princess stunned. The princess is overwhelmed by a strange, unfamiliar feeling. A court lady interrupts, announcing that the bathwater is ready. He instructs the attendant to serve the princess well. The attendant gently leads the still-dazed princess away for her bath. The princess glances back, still processing the profound kindness she was shown. She looks down at her hand, a powerful realization dawning on her. She understands that in this life or her last, no one had ever held her hand before. Cleaned and dressed in a lovely new gown, the princess is announced, surprising two court ladies. She takes a tentative step forward, feeling unsure. Looking adorable but nervous, she fidgets with her hands. Dazzled by her new appearance, she thinks this is all incredibly awkward. Noble consort Hong He gasps in surprise at the princess's new look. Overcome with emotion, Hong He gushes about how cute she is, leaving the princess baffled. A court lady explains they are appreciating her beauty with reverence, confusing the princess further. An attendant kindly offers the princess a hand mirror to see herself. Staring at her reflection, the princess nervously asks, "This is me?" She reflects that this is her first time washing properly and wearing such fine things. Zap! A butterfly hair accessory suddenly falls from her dress. Panicked, she bows low, apologizing for dropping the accessory. Noble consort Hong He gently pats her back, reassuring her that it's all right. Hong He offers to rebraid her hair, surprising the young princess. As Hong He gently braids her hair, she confesses she'd always wanted a daughter. The princess is touched, realizing it's another first for her. She thanks the lady, marveling at how many new experiences she's had today. An attendant suggests a trip to the octagonal pavilion with snacks to celebrate her new look. Noble consort Hong He asks the princess if she wants to go on an outing, exciting her. Hong He paints a picture of a lovely picnic with food and conversation. The princess realizes this outing is a perfect opportunity to get closer to noble consort He. She decides to use this chance to learn more about the frail, gentle consort. Her mind made up, she prepares to give her answer. Believing more information is always better, she enthusiastically agrees to the outing. As the princess cheers, Hong He immediately orders the preparations to be made. The princess is taken aback by the sudden flurry of activity. While walking, she glances back, feeling the distinct sensation of being watched. A man with light hair smirks from behind a wall, dismissing the feeling as nothing. He chuckles to himself, certain he's mistaken. His expression shifts to one of faint unease. He quickly dismisses the thought, convinced a 5-year-old couldn't possibly detect his advanced stealth. Now, in a sunlit garden, the princess is encouraged to walk a little further. Holding her hand, noble consort Hong He asks what she thinks of the beautiful place. The scene reveals a stunning pavilion surrounded by a lush, sparkling garden. The princess happily hugs Hong He's arm, exclaiming how much she loves it. Hong Hyo smiles, suggesting they enjoy the delicious food they brought, to which the princess eagerly agrees. She asks the princess to wait for a moment while she prepares the snacks. The peaceful blue sky creates a tranquil atmosphere for their outing. The princess watches the consort, thinking she seems very pretty up close. She continues to observe Hong He with a thoughtful expression. An attendant invites the princess to come and try the snacks. She happily runs toward a table laden with food and tea. The spread features an array of colorful and elegant traditional rice cakes. She thinks that bringing so many delicious treats for an outing is the absolute best. She savors the peaceful moment, feeling her anger from the earlier confrontation finally fade. Hong He praises her, calling her a Myeongsejae, a great talent who can save an era. Confused by the sudden praise, the princess looks toward the pavilion. Her eyes widen as she sees Prince Seongnam, calling out to her big brother. Hong He calmly notes that today was his meeting day with the royal lecturer. She explains that scholars are interviewing the princes to help select the next crown prince. The princess is impressed by her brother's importance as Hong He smiles with pride. Hong He reflects that her son is truly exceptional, especially compared to a lacking mother like herself. The princess looks at her with wide, concerned eyes, questioning her self-deprecating words. Hong He reflects on not caring for Prince Seongnam during his childhood. She explains her chronic illness forced her into treatment for 4 years after his birth. Hong He recalls the king praising Seongnam's literary talent, which first happened on a day he studied particularly hard. She realizes Prince Seongnam devoted himself to studying to earn that praise. Hong He laments learning this so late, questioning her worth as a mother. The princess realizes Seongnam studied desperately for the king's recognition, a detail not in the original story. Hong Hee gently calls out to the princess, her hand near the snacks. Hong Hee smiles, vowing to protect the princess from any further humiliation. A quiet moment focuses on the princess's newly braided hair. Suddenly a voice shouts, "Mother!" startling the princess. Prince Seongnam appears, holding a book, his expression surprised. He approaches and reports to his mother that his questioning went well. Seongnam then notices the princess and seems taken aback. The little princess offers her brother a brilliant, sparkling smile. The prince lets out a small, surprised sound. Completely bewildered, Prince Seongnam points, unable to reconcile the dirty child from before with the cute princess now. Hong Hee chuckles, asking her son if he's surprised by how cute she is. Flustered, Prince Seongnam struggles to find the right words to describe his sister. He finally manages to call her presentable enough, blushing as his mother teases him for the awkward compliment. The princess thanks them both, wondering if this warm feeling is what family is like. She stands happily between noble consort Hong Hee and her brother. Elsewhere, the light-haired bodyguard Kim Ji-san smirks from a doorway. Crash. Inside, a teacup shatters on the floor. The angry noble consort stands stained and disheveled as an attendant reports the princess is on an outing. Furious, she sneers that bitch, Hong Hee, has finally made her move. She declares that though she left Hong Hee alone, she must now put an end to it. Her eyes narrow with intent as she resolves to have someone step forward personally. Her bodyguard, Kim Ji-san, pledges to follow any command she gives. In a misty forest, a messenger bird arrives, prompting its handler to ask if there's a crisis at the palace. A purple-haired man on horseback reads a letter, quietly contemplating the word crisis. An older advisor asks the man what he believes family to be. The older man waits for an answer, his expression serious. The purple-haired man replies that family is an inseparable bond of blood. The advisor looks comically dismayed, asking if he hasn't severed his own bonds. The older man quickly apologizes for his remark. The purple-haired man reflects that family is a bond that cannot be severed. The two men ride together through the serene, moonlit woods. He clutches the letter, remembering his decision to live only as a king, but is troubled by the news of the princess's confinement. An image of the princess's happy face flashes in his mind, and he wonders why she keeps appearing to him. He makes a decision, ordering his companion to prepare for their return. Overruling his advisor's concerns about their schedule, he commands they prioritize essentials and reach the palace in 3 days. His expression is one of cold, unwavering resolve. The scene shifts back to the peacefulness of the princess's new residence. She narrates that since head court Lady Choi was expelled, a new Lady Kim has been taking exclusive care of her. Her life has improved with new silk clothes and proper, if simple, meals. She happily notes that while her residence still feels fragile, she's content. She observes her brother, Prince Seongnam, who looks around disapprovingly, clearly not sharing her sentiment. She teases him for his stern expression, pointing out it's still the same old place despite some improvements. Grateful for what she has, she reflects that at least now she has brushes and an inkstone, prompting Seongnam to ask why. Prince Suwon determinedly offers a paper, asking her to accept it. She hesitantly takes it, wondering what it could be. He dismisses her crude stick figure drawing as bizarre, but she insists it's a person, leaving him skeptical. At her request, he holds up the drawing, questioning her strange plan. The princess brightly declares her first lesson will be on pressure points. Confused, he asks why she's talking about pressure points instead of martial arts. Holding a needle, she clarifies it's not martial arts, prompting him to ask what it is. She beams with excitement, holding the needle high. She explains that assassination techniques are for killing, not subduing. She morbidly wonders if she could kill someone with a needle, leaving him speechless and concerned. Thump. He sets the needle down, explaining assassination targets vital points, which also aids survival. She smiles up at him gratefully as he looks down, still a little flustered. She embraces him in a tight hug. He reluctantly agrees to her lesson, asking if he should memorize the pressure points first. She explains that since he's already training his strength, they can move to the next stage. Overwhelmed, he asks if he just has to memorize the locations of these holes. She cheerfully assigns him homework. Pierce the paper precisely with a needle next time. Holding a sword, he asks if the lesson is over for the day. He slumps in utter disbelief and exhaustion. She raises a finger, declaring they must first establish a proper form of address. As he wonders what she means, she points and happily demands he call her master. He stares back in absolute stunned silence. He protests indignantly, reminding her that he's still her big brother. She scolds him, saying a gentleman shouldn't say two different things. He stammers that speaking informally feels strange and denies going back on his word. She sets the terms for their private lessons, and he sighs, defeatedly agreeing to call her master. He stares at the drawing, resolved to memorize the pressure points. She checks on his well-being, and he reassures her that noble consort he took care of him. He worries that this wouldn't have happened if he could just get a name quickly. The princess reveals that meeting him prompted her to research abandoned royals. An old text describes a royal prodigy recognized by all the teachers at Jonghak. Go-keon! She dismisses the story as unhelpful since he can't go to Jonghak, but he tells her to wait. A spark of an idea hits her as she realizes Jonghak could be interesting. In her past life, the elite agent recalls her excellent grades, considering martial arts safer than her known assassination skills. The young princess smiles, confident she can learn absolutely anything. He watches her turn away, a look of concern on his face. With a brilliant smile and a thumbs up, she announces her desire to go to Jonghak. He panics, declaring it's impossible for a princess to attend Jonghak. She confidently considers petitioning her father, then realizes it's difficult to even see him. Her thoughts are cut short by the sound of a nearby door sliding open. A tall man in a white robe and black hat appears in the doorway. No, his imposing presence shocks the two children into silence. He looks down at them kneeling on the floor, questioning why they're there. The scene shifts to the king, who addresses his chief minister. The king asks if the chief minister has a young son, to which he confirms. The minister internally questions the king's exhausting schedule following a royal tomb visit. A young princess with braided hair and red ribbons sleeps peacefully. The minister's thoughts thunder with a shocking question. Why is that princess sleeping beside them? From behind the king's throne, the princess nervously peeks at the bowing royal court. She somberly reflects that her father, having killed relatives, could easily execute her too. A white-haired counselor questions the king's motives, asking if he's creating a reason to kill her. Utterly baffled, the counselors can only ask, "Pardon." The king states that his own child enjoys requesting to learn the most. He then clarifies that his son's preferences don't necessarily apply to all children. The counselor asks for the king's opinion on what girls of a certain age might like. The king thoughtfully looks down at the princess, who has dozed off beside his throne. He's struck by a thought. Her overwhelming cuteness is hitting him. Looking at his sleeping daughter, the king notes how little she has grown. The counselors finally understand, asking if he wants advice on what the princess might like, which he confirms. As the princess continues to nap, a minister questions why she was summoned to the meeting. The king explains that children are meant to admire their fathers at work, but she's just sleeping. A minister in a green robe respectfully acknowledges the king's words. The king points out her boredom to the ministers, asking for their take on the situation. The minister in green bows deeply, offering a sincere apology. Another minister muses that while this is better than the training grounds, making a 5-year-old sit through 3 hours of meetings is questionable. The princess's purple eye slowly blinks open. She wakes up, rubbing her sleepy eye. Her head pops up as she sweetly calls out, "Daddy?" Chaos erupts in the ministers' minds as they fear the king will kill her for such informality. The king, however, simply offers a gentle, pleased smile. The ministers are hit with a second wave of profound shock. The king abruptly ends the meeting, announcing they will go to his personal palace. He holds out his hand to the princess, who eagerly responds with a happy yes. He lifts her into his arms, and she waves cheerfully. For a moment, father and daughter share a silent, meaningful look. The scene shifts to a table laden with sparkling tea and delicate snacks. The princess sits fuming, internally complaining about having to kneel for over 3 hours. She stares at the food, confused, as her father just watches her in silence. From his perspective, the king wonders why she isn't eating the treats. Terrified, she thinks the food is a new form of torture and that she's not supposed to eat it. Taking a tentative bite, she's shocked by how delicious it is. The king thinks she eats as little as a bird, while she grumbles that he's not a very nice person. A sudden thought strikes her. Perhaps he wants to eat the snacks himself? The king flashes back to a memory of a woman teasing him for wanting to eat kid stuff. Trying to be considerate, the princess offers some snacks to her father. As she eats, she thinks she's starting to feel sorry for the seemingly hungry king. Ian, he raises his hand, gently refusing her offer. He tells her he's fine and to eat, leaving her completely baffled by his behavior. The king then instructs her to finish all of her tea as well. She holds the cup, realizing he ordered tea for digestion, and begins to wonder if it's possible the king is actually worried about her. She thinks he looks concerned, but he coolly states he's just worried her weakness will become a bother again. He asks about her meeting with Prince Seongnam, and she confirms her brother saved her multiple times. He then asks for her opinion of her brother. She passionately praises Prince Seongnam's knowledge and kindness, making her feel proud. The king listens with a neutral expression, simply saying, "I see." He remarks that she must have been very happy without him, even forgetting to look for him, making her wonder if his feelings are hurt. She quickly tries to flatter him, insisting that watching him at the meeting was far more magnificent and respectable. She inwardly wonders if her flattery has successfully appeased the king. He offers her a birthday gift, leaving her to question his strange behavior. Her purple eye widens in stunned silence at his unexpected kindness. She looks up in awe at the gates of a grand, traditional building. Her surprise continues as she stares at the imposing structure before her. Recalling her assassin training, she decides to never state her desires directly to dangerous people. She clasps her hands together, beginning her carefully chosen response. With an innocent expression, she prepares to deliver a perfectly crafted answer. She claims his company is the only gift she needs, showering him with flattery. The king strokes his chin, thoughtfully considering her syrupy words. A flustered, chibi version of the princess sits nervously at the table. He speculates that her lonely upbringing is the reason for her reserved nature. She is utterly bewildered by his strange leap in logic. He decides a place for socializing would be perfect, as she trails off in confusion. He smiles, declaring he'll arrange everything while she panics, wondering what he misunderstood. The king credits the chief minister's advice, believing she wants to study, as the princess internally fumes that he didn't just ask her again. The scene shifts to a majestic palace, her tiny, frustrated face floating in the sky. A nervous young boy with black hair and blue eyes appears, addressing her. The boy, Prince Seongnam, remarks on her good opportunity as she sulks with a candy in her mouth. Prince Seongnam questions why she didn't ask for a gift, and she gives him a sharp, judgmental side-eye. She mentally types her father as an MBTI type, completely baffling Prince Seongnam. She sighs that her father would have asked again, but Prince Seongnam retorts that she doesn't know him at all. Her glare is so intense it makes him sweat as he quickly apologizes for talking back. He asks if she planned to request being sent to Jonghak, which she coolly confirms. Surprised, Prince Seongnam asks if she's seeking recognition and a name for herself. Taking his drawing, she says that's part of the reason, but there's another. She beams with pure joy at his drawing, shocking him completely. He begins to explain what Jonghak is, but she interrupts, saying she's grading his work. Showing his crude drawing with a tear added, she praises his perfect recitation skills. She calls the task a piece of cake, but he points out the dark circles under her eyes. He suggests moving to the next stage, and she peeks out excitedly, asking if it's sword training. Thump. He presents a wooden box. simply telling her to take it. Prince Seongnam looks at the box, hesitating for a moment. Opening it to reveal colorful spools of thread, he says he worked hard to get it for her. He stares at the sewing kit, completely confused about what he is supposed to do with it. She explains that with a needle and thread, he will obviously embroider, stunning him. Her instructions appear. He must embroider 7 identical camellia flower patterns within 1 week. Prince Seongnam is rendered speechless, his face a mask of blank shock. Slam! He shuts the box, angrily asking if she is trying to insult him. He argues that embroidery is for women, not a swordsman, as the princess muses on the era's rigid gender roles. Holding a needle, she tells him to calm down, explaining a single needle can be a deadly assassination tool. She guides his hand, telling him he must now learn how to strike the pressure points he memorized. He remains hesitant, questioning how he could possibly perform such a delicate task. Sigh. She closes her eyes in exasperation, tired of having to explain everything. She gives him an out, but he immediately snatches the box back, determined to complete the task. She stops him just as he's about to leave, telling him to wait. He turns back, looking determined as he asks what she wants now. He vows to accomplish his mission as she looks on with a thoughtful expression. Their determined gazes meet as she privately acknowledges his sincerity. She thinks back to his crudely drawn chart, impressed that he memorized every pressure point flawlessly in a single day. Prince Seongnam offers a box with a stoic expression. The princess worries about her embroidery skills, but her brother expresses confidence in her. An attendant interrupts them, bringing urgent news for the princess. Flustered, Court Lady Kim stammers as the princess asks about the early morning commotion. The princess and her brother share a look of anxious confusion. The attendant clarifies the items are 5 years' worth of birthday gifts, stunning them both. The court lady cheerfully lifts the utterly bewildered princess. 2 ladies present her with another new dress, deepening her confusion. Now dressed in white, she stands alone, completely baffled by the situation. Her eyes widen in absolute shock. She wonders desperately what her father is planning. The scene shifts to another part of the palace. An attendant arrives at the king's residence with a medicinal brew. The king accepts the brew and dismisses the attendant. Another attendant announces left state councilor Kim Bi-won is requesting an audience. The king, a man with long purple hair, looks on thoughtfully. The councilor enters and greets the king in his bedchambers. Left state councilor Kim Bi-won formally inquires about the king's well-being. The king dismisses the formalities, asking if he's here about the same issue. The councilor confirms, reminding the king that the queen's seat has been vacant for 5 years. He questions the ongoing delay as the king looks down somberly. The king blames his health, but the councilor insists he issue a decree regardless. The councilor offers to find a cure if the king reveals his illness. The king relents, deciding it's time to tell him the truth. He confesses that for the past 5 years, he has suffered from a sleepwalking disease. The councilor listens, shocked, as the king begins to explain. Recalling reports of the king wandering with a sword, the councilor is aghast. The king remembers a time when the late queen would watch over him during his nightmares. He recalls the comforting memory of her embrace. He explains that his symptoms worsened after the queen's death. A flashback shows the king being told of Queen Sohyeon's passing. An attendant informs him the queen died while giving birth to the princess. The king resolves to see the newborn princess for himself. He recalls feeling disturbingly unaffected by the news of his wife's death. The scene transitions to the lonely building where the princess was kept. Looking down at the infant, the king asks if this is the child. He notes with disappointment that he'd expected her to resemble the queen. Turning away, he realizes she looks exactly like him, and coldly calls her ugly. He clenches his fist in frustration, hating that she inherited his looks. A violent memory of a woman standing over a bloody corpse flashes in his mind. The nightmare jolts him awake with a start. He sits up in bed, shaken and trembling. Gasping for breath, he thinks to himself, "In the end, I killed her." His hand trembles uncontrollably with the memory. He believes the ghosts of those he killed are tormenting his daughter through his own face. Plagued by the same nightmare daily, he lies awake, unable to sleep. In his sleepwalking state, he stands holding his sword. He wakes with a start, dropping his sword in horror. Seeing the innocent baby, he trembles, torn by what to do. He collapses against her crib, overwhelmed with a rage that has no target. The king recalls secretly asking a physician for strong medicine to numb his emotions. His chief minister bows, apologizing for failing to properly care for His Majesty's health. The king dismisses his apology, stating his condition has recently improved thanks to the princess. The chief minister asks what exactly the princess did to cause such an improvement. The king smiles faintly, a fond memory playing out in his mind. He remembers the small princess, though trembling, still bravely calling him father. He reflects on abandoning his child for so long because he was trapped by nightmares. The memory of her small, comforting hand on his leg warms him. The king closes his eyes, remarking on how amazing she is. He recalls his nightmarish vision of her as a monster, which was so wrong. In reality, he found she shone brightly when he finally met her in person. The king explains that his nightmares stopped and his sleepwalking has greatly improved since then. The chief minister expresses his sincere gratitude for the king's recovery. The king declares that with his health improved, he will soon appoint a queen and a crown prince, shocking the minister. The chief minister quickly recovers and bows, praising the king's excellent decision. The king adds that he will also provide the princess with formal education and a name for her birthday. A quiet moment passes between the two men as the decision sinks in. The chief minister understands the profound meaning behind the king's words. The king smiles, telling him to let the princess attend Jonghak as her birthday gift, leaving her looking puzzled. The story is supported by its patrons. At a formal gathering, the Queen Dowager announces that everyone has arrived. A smiling woman in a lavender hanbok asks if the others have heard the news. The Queen Dowager looks on with a warm, knowing smile. The princess happily tells her grandmother that her father gave her a chance to learn. Her happy expression fades as she thinks, no. She reels in shock, realizing with horror that this place isn't Jonghak. The princess looks around, sensing that something is very strange. The scene focuses on the ornate building of her new school. As an attendant announces her arrival, the princess wonders if this school is different somehow. She stares in disbelief, realizing the Queen Dowager would never be at Jonghak. The Queen Dowager beams with serene confidence. The princess sits meekly beside her grandmother, feeling a little overwhelmed. A woman in lavender remarks that it's a historic day, the first time a princess has attended Jonghak. The princess giggles as another woman notes how much the king seems to cherish her. A woman in a white and blue hanbok coldly adds that His Majesty is quite capricious. She glares, pointing out he dotes on a princess without a name, then directs a chilling question at the startled girl. The woman in lavender thinks to herself that the princess is suspicious. The princess recalls overhearing palace gossip, questioning the king's motives, and suspecting an execution plot, admitting their suspicion is natural. She tries to dismiss the terrifying thought, thinking, no way. A dark suspicion forms in her mind. Is the king also a psychopath? Overcome with anxiety, she begins to tremble uncontrollably. Dizzy with fear, she worries he's acting affectionate only to kill her later. She forces a calm expression, telling herself the king must have had reasons for his actions. The Queen Dowager instructs the women to guide the princess, whose authority is immediately acknowledged. The Queen Dowager gets to the point, explaining why she called them all here. The women listen as she reveals the king will soon issue appointment decrees. She states that the future sovereign of the nation is still unknown. Her eyes narrow with intent as she points out Prince Suyang's recent absence from Jonghak. The woman in the white and blue hanbok listens with a serious, unreadable expression. A lady-in-waiting angrily questions why noble consort always protects the prince. A stern woman warns noble consort to prevent further rumors. The princess observes the woman's powerlessness, then fears the king will murder her again. She clenches her tiny fist, feeling depressed by her situation. Bored, she compares the scolding to a long-winded principal's speech. She mentally notes that noble consort He and noble consort Go received a second scolding. Resolved, she reminds herself there's no time to waste on such things. She vows to get stronger and secure her position to avoid being killed. As she resolves to train, a young boy calls out to her. The brown-haired boy, Prince Su-yang, looks panicked, thinking, "Oh no." Annoyed, she reminds herself to hide her emotions like a professional assassin. She turns to him with a forced, painfully wide smile. Prince Su-yang notes her recent celebrity status, and she asks what he means. He mentions hearing she killed wolves with Big Brother, making her sweat nervously. He mockingly recounts the flattery she used when speaking about Prince Xiangnam. Remembering her own words, she cringes at her past sycophancy. He steps closer, beginning to question her behavior. Prince Su-yang looms over her, questioning her improper forms of address. He insults her as a nameless wench, forbidding her from calling him Big Brother. Finding his nitpicking tiresome, she mentally prepares a formal apology. She bows deeply, apologizing for being rude to Prince Su-yang. As she vows to never call him Big Brother again, a surprised Prince Su-yang questions her. She announces her departure, but he frantically tells her to wait. Thump. Prince Su-yang picks up a rock from the ground. Whoosh! He throws the rock at her, demanding she stop. The stone hurtles directly toward the back of her head. The projectile closes in on her unsuspecting head. Thwack! She effortlessly catches the rock mid-air, stunning the prince. Prince Su-yang stares in utter disbelief, completely flustered by her reflexes. She calmly holds the rock, giving him a serious look. A brief, warm memory of holding hands with the smiling woman flashes through her mind. She internally scoffs at having a father who abandoned her. She thinks of her brother who throws stones, recalling that catching brats like him was her job. Bidding him farewell, she turns to leave again. He grabs her sleeve, stopping her and stammering her name. Looking at her with newfound shock, he demands to know what she is. The princess turns back, her expression unreadable as he holds her sleeve. A golden light frames the silent, stunned moment between them. He's amazed, realizing she's the first to ever catch a stone he's thrown so perfectly. His anger completely vanishes as he smiles, now happily holding her hand. He eagerly pulls her along toward his training grounds as she looks on in shock. A deep sense of foreboding washes over the princess. They arrive at a large, traditional training ground lined with flags. He gives a satisfied, "Good," while she looks utterly exhausted. As he demonstrates, Prince Su-yang internally questions the extremity of his own training. Her assassin skills activate, her eyes becoming a targeting system to calculate distance. She analyzes the parabolic trajectory of a wooden ball flying through the air. Her internal system identifies the exact landing point of the ball. She leaps into the air, determined to catch the wooden ball. After she successfully catches it, a surprised Prince Su-yang admits she's pretty good. She forces a smile, asking if it's fun, and he strains to agree. The princess proudly puffs out her chest as the boy looks at her. She beams with joy, feeling like she's dreaming to be with him. He tells her not to cry, calling her the happiest princess, but she inwardly vows to educate the crazy bastard someday. He ponders for a moment, looking at her with a thoughtful expression. Leaning in, she asks him if he knows what she's thinking. He smiles down at her, a kind look on his face. With a sly grin, she looks up at him while he asks if her earlier affection was a lie. She feigns innocence, asking what he could possibly mean. He leans in close, reminding her that she said she liked him, making her blush. He admits he assumed it was a lie she told out of fear. She feels a chill, wondering why he's looking at her with the intense gaze of the novel's final villain. She remembers a terrifying detail from the original story. Prince Su-yang was a madman who tried to kill and taxidermy the woman he loved. A dark premonition states he's destined to become the world's greatest madman. She resolves that she absolutely must not upset him. With a bright, reassuring smile, she insists that she truly admires him. He simply says, "Pass," leaving her utterly bewildered. He grins, graciously allowing her to call him Big Brother. He continues speaking, a playful smile on his face. He reminds her that they already played together and even killed wolves, but she can only stammer in response. He lists all her prior compliments, that she admired him, liked him, and wanted to see him, leaving her backed into a corner. He laughs brightly, flatly refusing her attempt to backpedal. She tries to refuse, saying she can't take his precious time, but he presses on, asking if she doesn't want to. She claims it's an honor, but he's too busy, to which he smugly replies that she should be honored he's specially playing with her. She sighs in frustration, realizing they are not communicating at all. He wonders what to call her, remarking that it's his first time keeping a nameless wench around. He pauses, thinking of a suitable name for her. Her eyes widen as she thinks she knows what he's about to say. An absurd image of herself in a chicken hat flashes in her mind as she asks, "What?" He nods thoughtfully, having made his decision. He points at her dramatically, bestowing upon her the name Chirpy and telling her to be honored, much to her horror. He dramatically sends her off with a shout of, "Now go, Chirpy," as she internally cringes at the ridiculous name. Against a sunset sky, a desperate cry for help echoes. The scene settles on a tranquil palace courtyard at dusk. A lady-in-waiting urgently tells the princess she must start attending Jonghak. The attendant calls out to her as she groans, still in bed. The princess lies stiffly on her mat, complaining of severe muscle pain. Grumbling, she agrees to get up, her body still aching. Her eyes snap open with determination as she recognizes a familiar voice outside. Prince Suyang calls out, threatening to change her nickname to Slowpoke if she doesn't hurry up. Peeking through the doorway, she meekly greets him and asks why he's there. An attendant tries to stop Prince Suyang from entering, but he ignores her, declaring it's his choice. He looks around in distaste, questioning if people can actually live in such a rundown place. She politely suggests he leave his shoes outside, but he dismisses her, refusing to take them off for a crumbling palace. He stands over her, again asking what brings him to her quarters. He poses a rhetorical question. Would a busy person like him come all this way just to play? With a frustrated grimace, she realizes that's exactly why he came. She smiles sweetly, explaining that she has a schedule and needs to leave soon. He looks at her skeptically, questioning what kind of schedule she could possibly have. Prince Seongnam holds his sword to a defiant Prince Suyang's neck. The princess runs toward them, shouting for her big brother in a panic. Prince Seongnam looks over, telling her to stop and that he's fine. He questions what is happening as Prince Suyang glares back intensely. She frantically orders them to stop, worried that it's dangerous. Prince Suyang calmly tells Prince Seongnam that it's just playing. He smirks, mockingly asking why Prince Seongnam is so scared to fight him. Suyang wonders if the wound from their last sparring match has healed yet, annoying Seongnam. Prince Seongnam apologizes for tearing the clothes, but demands Suyang apologize to their sister. Suyang scoffs, asking why he should apologize, as Seongnam explains he was being rude and threatening. Prince Suyang dismisses the accusation, amused by his brother's protectiveness. He taunts Prince Seongnam, suggesting there's something he doesn't know. Suddenly, Prince Suyang happily embraces the completely bewildered princess from behind. Calling her Chirpy, he pats her head and vows to work hard for her favor as she internally panics. Seongnam insists there was no need to tear his clothes, but Suyang points to the fresh wounds underneath. Prince Suyang holds the princess close, looking over at his brother. When asked if the injuries are from training, Suyang claims scars are badges of honor. The princess silently scoffs, realizing the wounds are clearly from being beaten with a rod. Her eyes widen in shock as she makes a terrible connection. A sudden dark memory begins to surface. She recalls the back of a woman in elegant robes holding a wooden rod. A flash of a young boy kneeling in pain completes the memory. As she realizes it was noble consort Go, Prince Suyang cheerfully interrupts, asking about their lecture. The princess and Prince Seongnam stare in stunned silence. Prince Suyang grabs her hand to leave, noting how much Seongnam loves studying. Prince Seongnam stops him, demanding he first apologize to their sister. Suyang turns with a disarming smile, reminding him of the importance of brotherly love. Prince Seongnam is left speechless with rage at his brother's manipulative words. With a final smirk, Prince Suyang bids them farewell. He promises more fun games, and the princess internally declares how much she hates him. He calmly walks away, leaving the other two standing in the courtyard. Prince Seongnam asks when she met Prince Suyang as a dark, miserable aura surrounds her. She explains their encounters have become quite troublesome for her. Prince Seongnam listens with a serious, thoughtful expression. He warns her that Suyang is not a good person to be around, and she solemnly agrees. Panicking about the time, she urges him to hurry to their lecture. The scene shifts to Jonghak, the prestigious academy for royal relatives. It's an institution where proud scholars teach a variety of subjects. A scholar slams his fist down, angry that the princess is too young to enter. An older, bearded official in a green robe listens with a stern look. The official complains to another minister that the king commanded them without any consultation. Holding a document, he asks the minister for his thoughts on the matter. The minister replies that it is a royal command they are bound to obey. The other officials murmur in dissent, questioning how to educate such an unprecedented princess. The bespectacled minister narrows his eyes, a plan clearly forming. The princess sits sweetly in a new outfit, unaware of the plot against her. The green-robed official recalls hearing she grew up without a wet nurse. He deduces she therefore lacks even the most basic royal etiquette. He suggests they can find justification by proving she's not ready for the curriculum. The scholars imagine the king's wrath if they oppose him. Agreeing a direct refusal is too dangerous. He clenches his fist, determined to properly establish her lack of qualification. The princess gives a cheerful, winking smile. A chibi version of the official sweats nervously under the princess's massive, imposing figure. The bespectacled minister wonders if proving her inadequacy directly will be difficult. The other minister disagrees, telling him it won't be a problem. Clenching his fist, the green-robed official announces he just had a good idea. With a sinister smile, he asks for the princess to be entrusted to him. The scene transitions as a voice asks if they have arrived. They arrive at the entrance of a grand, traditional estate. A woman with braided hair confirms their arrival but expresses hesitation to her master. The attendant complains about the fast pace, but the princess insists they can't be late on her first day. She beams with excitement while Prince Seongnam looks on with a hint of concern. A close-up highlights the delicate embroidery on her blue dress. The princess stands nervously outside, clutching her pouch. Noticing her unease, Prince Seongnam asks if something is wrong. As the attendant remarks it's been a while, the princess corrects her, saying it's her first time. She gazes at the building, realizing this is the school she will now attend. She steals her resolve, wondering what could possibly happen. She takes a step forward, reflecting that she never expected an education in this life. Looking up, she finds herself slightly taken aback by the sight. Wow! Her eyes sparkle as she declares the place is really impressive. The classroom is filled with pristine wooden desks and books. She marvels at the shiny wooden floors and majestic high ceilings. A wave of excitement washes over her. Her joy vanishes as unseen voices question if she is her. A prince in a black robe scoffs, questioning why a lowly wench is being allowed into Jonghak. She realizes these unfamiliar faces are all princes too. Glance. Prince Seongnam looks over with concern as the princess wilts under the hostile stares. Her eyes widen as she takes in the room. She scans the classroom, noticing there are only 4 occupied seats. Looking around confused, she asks where her seat is. Her expression hardens with determination. The prince in black smirks, cruelly asking where a wench like her thinks she can sit. Her face falls as she realizes this will be tougher than she thought. The green-robed official approaches, addressing her as princess. He internally reaffirms his difficult mission to drive this very princess out. For a moment he's disarmed, thinking the nameless princess is incredibly cute. He steels himself against her charm, but then wonders why she's just standing there. The prince in black smirks, realizing the teacher's plan. The official introduces himself as her mathematics teacher, Professor Lee Dio-kyung. He pointedly asks the princess why she is still standing. He watches her closely, wondering how she will react to the pressure. She feigns confusion, thinking, "Huh." She bows deeply, politely saying it's an honor to meet him. Professor Lee is stunned as she humbly introduces herself as a nameless princess. As the other boys watch in shock, she explains she was standing to properly greet her teacher. She smiles, privately criticizing the princes for their lack of basic respect. Professor Lee sweats, realizing she's much tougher than he anticipated. She looks up innocently and asks where her study books are. Flustered, the professor stammers, unable to answer immediately. The prince in black smirks while another looks on, as the princess internally sees this as her opportunity. Professor Lee condescendingly asks if she really came to Jonghak without any books. The princess stands with her back to the room, facing an uncertain situation. Prince Seongnam calls out to his master as the princess bows deeply, offering a sincere apology. She realizes the other kids must have hidden her books and silently debates whether to report them. Concluding no one would believe her, she trembles with frustration at the other prince's certain denial. Realizing Professor Lee is cornering her with no way out, she clenches her fist, knowing she has no other choice. She begins a clever excuse, claiming her excitement to meet him made her forget her book. With wide, innocent eyes, she puts on a convincing performance of a flustered but eager student. Her explanation leaves Professor Lee utterly speechless and confused. She promises to study hard by memorizing his every word, despite her supposed lack of preparation. With teary eyes, she pleads for him to look kindly upon her. A small chibi version of herself internally wonders if her little act worked. Professor Lee strokes his chin thoughtfully, unsure of what to make of her display. He explains that since she missed the traditional entrance exam, her abilities are unproven. Therefore, she must prove her qualifications by solving a problem he gives her. The professor looms over the tiny princess, ready to issue his challenge. He raises a single finger, adding a critical condition to his test. If she fails to solve the problem, he declares, she will be deemed unqualified. The consequence is dire. She will be expelled from Jonghak immediately. The princess looks up with a bead of sweat, absorbing the gravity of his ultimatum. She nervously asks what kind of problem he has for her. Claiming he just needs to assess her level, he says he will give her a basic problem but warns she only has one chance. Her expression hardens with determination as she accepts the single-chance challenge. She agrees to his terms, and he prepares to state the problem as the other princes watch. The princess waits with wide, focused eyes. She thinks that she expected a question, but this feels like more than a simple test. Professor Lee presents a complex math problem involving 20 big monks and 80 small monks. With a confident thumbs up, she internally resolves that she must answer it correctly. Professor Lee is stunned by her instant solution and cuts her off before she can explain her method. She effortlessly solves several more difficult problems aloud, leaving the professor completely bewildered. He stares at his book, trembling in disbelief, as she wonders why he broke his one problem rule. She begins to worry, questioning if she should keep answering and how the other princes are reacting. Prince Seongnam looks on, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. The professor slams the book, shouting that her answers are impossible. He turns to her, insisting that what she's doing can't be right. He asks how she solved problems in seconds that stumped scholars, and she realizes she may have overdone it. The professor concludes that an uneducated princess couldn't solve them and accuses her of having an informant. He angrily points at her, demanding to know who leaked the pre-selected problems to her. Her face darkens as she realizes the scholars conspired to drive her out from the very beginning. A figure in black robes appears behind him, turning the question back on the professor. The man, another official, calmly tells Professor Lee that he has done enough. Both the princess and Prince Seongnam recognize the newcomer, identifying him as their master. The princess wonders if this is the head professor of Jonghak she was told about. A brief memory shows Court Lady Kim telling her about the head professor. The princess smirks, thinking that dealing with a regular professor's problems is quite troublesome. The head professor offers the princess a warm smile and a kind greeting. He then politely asks her to accompany him for a moment. The princess is stunned, recognizing the unmistakable look of a teacher who has just discovered a rare talent. The scene transitions to a peaceful, sunlit traditional estate. A voice echoes through the ornate study, declaring the princess is truly amazing. The head professor thoughtfully strokes his chin, testing her knowledge of the Analects. He praises her remarkable talent for interpretation, deeming it amazing even without full memorization. The princess laughs brightly, graciously accepting the compliment. While the other scholars fawn over her with hearts in their eyes, she privately celebrates her success. The head professor calmly quiets the room, saying that's enough for now. He turns to the other officials, seeking their agreement on her brilliance as she beams with pride. With a sharp glance, the head professor confronts Professor Lee, who immediately bows to the princess in apology. Professor Lee admits he was foolish and made a terrible misjudgment. He explains her talent was so outstanding, it was simply beyond his belief. Another professor follows suit, bowing and asking forgiveness for daring to test her. In a dramatic reversal, the entire group of esteemed professors bows deeply to the little princess. One of the men silently reflects on his prejudice, having assumed she would be an idiot. The princess clears her throat, thoughtfully considering their apologies. She dispels the tension with a radiant, forgiving smile. She declares that she is simply happy for the chance to learn and promises to work hard. With her hands clasped and eyes sparkling, she humbly asks them to accept her as their disciple. Her earnest plea completely disarms the professors, who are now utterly charmed and flustered. The head professor observes his easily flustered colleagues with a knowing look. Two of the scholars decide they must report this to the king and petition for her to be given a name. Thump thump. Her eyes widen in shock and excitement at the mention of receiving a name. She internally cheers, ecstatic that her grand plan is finally working. Her mood sours as she remembers a significant obstacle. She's a girl. She overhears two professors whispering that her education will be useless as she can't participate in government affairs. She concedes their frustrating point, realizing her goal won't be achieved so easily. Her eyes land on a peculiar book in a nearby stack, sparking her curiosity. Holding up a strange blue book, she asks the head professor what it is. He explains it's an ancient text being researched and generously offers her a look. Her eyes widen in disbelief as she reads the contents, thinking it's amazing. She stares in shock at a diary written in modern Korean, questioning how Hangul could exist in this world. The scene is interrupted by a promotional page. A page appears thanking the Scanlation Group's patrons. She realizes that in this novel world, modern Korean must be considered an ancient language. She asks the professor if she can examine the mysterious book further. Looking at the familiar writing, she realizes she must hide the fact that she can read it. She cleverly feigns academic interest, suggesting the pictures have patterns she wants to research. The professor's amused chuckle makes her briefly worry her ploy has failed. However, he leans in, finding her proposal quite interesting. A new, imposing figure appears, identified as Chief State Counselor Go Jae-sin, who is intrigued by her cleverness. The counselor enters the room with his entourage, and the princess instantly recognizes the powerful man. When the head professor questions his presence, the counselor coldly asserts his right to go anywhere. The professor immediately bows an apology as the princess watches the display of power. She recalls his terrifying reputation as a ruthless kingmaker. She knows he is currently the most powerful man in the entire court. The counselor approaches her desk and startles her with a direct greeting. He offers a disarmingly warm smile and says hello. He claims he overheard her amazing talent from outside and couldn't help but stop to listen. He muses on the king's wisdom as the ominous sound of a sword being drawn is heard. Ah, she lets out a scream as he declares there are rebellious hearts opposing the king's will. A guard presses a sword against Professor Lee's throat as the counselor declares the rebellion will be dealt with by law. A scuffed-up boy with pink eyes smirks, asking if her skills weren't cool. He marvels at how such a small child could move so incredibly fast. The princess stands with a determined pout, clutching a light blue ribbon. A different boy flushes with anger, yelling at the others for finding the cute girl's eyes chilling. The angry boy threatens his companion for defending the princess, but the other timidly notes she seemed stronger than big brother Japyong. The boy scolds them for their cowardice before letting out a menacing laugh. Overhearing the name Japyong, a boy with golden eyes smirks, intrigued by the interesting events. He steps out from the shadows, demanding they tell him all the details. The three other boys look on in terror, realizing they are completely doomed. Japyong grins, pointedly asking who, exactly, is stronger than him. The scene shifts to the king's bedchamber, where a solemn man with long dark hair waits. A voice announces the noble consort's arrival, and the king grants her entry. An elegant woman in a green gown makes her entrance. She offers a formal and reverent greeting to His Majesty. The noble consort stands with perfect composure, her expression unreadable. The king apologizes for summoning her so late at night, but she dismisses his kindness. He invites her to sit down, and she takes a seat gracefully. The king pours her a drink, asking how she's been. She replies that she has missed him and prayed for his safety on his recent visit. He stares at her intently, asking if anything else happened while he was gone. She deflects, asking what else there could be besides serving and missing her husband. His eyes narrow with suspicion as he prepares to ask her one more time. He presses again, demanding to know if truly nothing happened. She reluctantly mentions a trivial incident, but he cuts her off, commanding her to report it. The noble consort stands silently, her composure unwavering. She claims she only spilled ink and the princess misunderstood, but the king asserts it's his place to worry. He accuses her of acting like a regent, shocking her into silence. Sipping his drink, he asks if she truly believes he knows nothing. He reveals he knows exactly how she has been raising the princess. Her confident facade cracks as she lets out a small gasp. She immediately prostrates herself, offering a sincere apology. She explains she thought neglecting the princess was following his will, as the child had harmed the queen mother. He angrily twists her words, asking if she is now blaming him. He coldly agrees with her, accepting her perceived accusation. With a bitter look, he sarcastically states that everything is always his fault. He laments how he is blamed for droughts, storms, and even indigestion. His hand tightens on his sword as he reveals the root of the problem was his own attempt to forget the child so he wouldn't kill her. He blames himself for leaving the princess with someone so cruel. Holding his sword, he coldly asks if he shouldn't correct his own mistake now. The noble consort is rendered completely speechless by his declaration. She desperately begs him to stop blaming himself for what has happened. With tears in her eyes, she offers her own life, asking him to kill her instead. He ignores her plea, changing the subject to the upcoming Foundation Day. He describes it as the day he stands before his people as their sovereign. He confesses he had wanted her to stand by his side on that important day. Her eyes widen in tearful horror as he declares that he must now change that plan, implying her punishment will come after the ceremony. In a brief flash, the little princess reaches out for a woman in a white dress. The king sternly warns the noble consort to be careful as she departs with her ladies-in-waiting. Overwhelmed by his judgment, she stumbles and covers her face in despair. Her lady-in-waiting rushes to her side, asking if she is all right. Thump. The noble consort drops an ornate accessory, realizing the king chose noble consort he instead of her. She collapses in a dark, shattered void, lamenting that once again, it was another woman, not her. Peeking through her fingers, she declares that this cannot be allowed to happen. Her resolve hardens as she vows to turn his heart back to her quickly. With a grimly determined expression, she promises to win him back, no matter what it takes. The moment passes, and the scene begins to shift. The next morning, a voice reports to the king, confirming the events of the previous day. The head professor declares the princess a once-in-a-century talent, to which the king impassively asks, And so? The professor formally requests 2 hours daily for private academic discussions with the princess, who bows with a weary look. The princess's eyes widen in disbelief, wondering what nonsense the professor is spouting now. He then requests the king grant her the qualification to become a scholar at Sungkyunkwan, shocking the princess. Before the throne, the princess wonders if these scholars even want her to be recognized as royalty. She glares, realizing their plea is essentially asking the king to give his abandoned daughter to them. She pouts, contemplating this unexpected turn of events. As the king listens with his arms crossed, she realizes her situation might actually improve. The king delivers a blunt and stunning response to their request. I refuse. The head professor argues that she will become a world-class scholar, asking if the refusal is because she is a girl. But the king simply begins, the princess is still very young, he finishes, leaving the princess to look up in confusion. The king states that the princess is busy, a claim she internally questions. The baffled professor apologizes, asking what could possibly be keeping the princess so busy. The king coldly asks if he must explain everything, prompting the professor to immediately bow and apologize again. He then summons the princess, who looks up, startled by his command to come here. Trembling, she asks if he means her, and he confirms that he does. She nervously approaches the throne, wondering what he is planning to do. Standing before him, she silently questions what on earth he is thinking. The king tells the confused professor to simply look at the princess. He states the obvious fact that the princess is small. The princess is utterly incensed by his observation, internally fuming. What? The king elaborates that because she is small, she is very busy growing. He continues by comparing her round cheeks to rice cakes, leaving her speechless with embarrassment. As his long-winded praise continues, she is mortified and internally begs him to stop. The king asks the professor if he now understands what she is busy with, and the man bows in defeated agreement. He concludes that, despite her talent, she is too young and busy, much to the princess's cringing dismay. The king orders the professor to ensure her studies are not inconvenienced until she is at least 9. She looks up at her father in shock, wondering if he actually just took her side. A small pout forms on her face as she decides the outcome isn't so bad after all. She realizes that becoming a scholar might be her path to survival, a way to change the story's original flow. The king's voice cuts through her thoughts, declaring she will come with him. He looks down with a serious expression. He then lifts the surprised princess into his arms. Her wide eyes are filled with an unspoken, desperate plea. The scene transitions to a beautiful palace garden filled with blooming cherry blossom trees. He asks why she isn't walking, and though she wants to blame him, she simply says it's nothing. The king pauses on the wooden bridge, waiting for her. He tells her to speak up if she gets tired, and she nervously agrees, calling him father. Walking beside him, she feels a subtle shift and wonders if it's just her imagination. The king glances back at her as they continue their walk through the blossoms. He asks if she truly wants to pursue academics at Sungkyunkwan, catching her by surprise. She shyly explains that she wanted to help him with her abilities if she could. The king dismisses her offer, asking if he looks weak enough to need a child's help. She blushes in confusion, wondering if he actually just smiled at her. As he walks away, he realizes her kind gesture wasn't just his imagination. She realizes with a start that he's purposefully slowing his pace to match hers. He looks down, gently reminding her to look ahead as she walks. She suddenly stumbles, grabbing onto his robe to keep her balance. He calls her a high-maintenance child as she looks up, flustered and blushing. She begins to apologize, but he simply says, "Tesk, come here." He walks on, warning that he'll leave her behind if she falls again. But then he takes her hand in his, leaving her utterly bewildered. She questions the strange feeling, realizing it's a familiar sensation. Her thoughts drift to a memory of a kind woman with a warm smile. She reflects that kindness has always felt like a foreign concept to her. But the feeling of his large, scarred hands holding hers is different. Walking hand in hand, she realizes this feeling is somehow like a dad. The shocking realization leaves her stunned and blushing. They arrive at a vast library, and she marvels at the sheer number of books. She exclaims to her father about the books, and he confirms they are all his. He asks if she likes it, and she responds with a joyful, beaming smile. He declares the library is now hers, placing a key in her palm as she stares in confusion. Holding the key, she silently wonders about the significance of this place. He explains it's the exclusive royal library, filled with the rarest tomes. He grants her unlimited access, but his kindness makes her suspicious, wondering if he ate something strange. He asks about her silence, and she quickly denies disliking his gift. Clutching the key tightly, she admits she simply doesn't understand. She questions why he'd give her the library key after rejecting the scholar's request. He asks if she truly wanted the scholar's tutelage, and she frantically denies it. She clarifies she just wanted to be useful, a word he thoughtfully repeats. She ponders the meaning of being useful, endless study without recognition, just to elevate others. Yikes! She realizes with a jolt that he understood her unspoken fears perfectly. He explains that talent is a double-edged sword, especially in the palace where it attracts jealousy. He recalls that even those closest to him were consumed by jealousy. He pats her head gently, offering to teach her how to overcome such people. He looks down at her with a gentle, knowing smile. The princess is left to ponder what she truly wants to do. Sitting among old books, she considers studying something like ancient languages. Her attention turns to an old diary, of which only 4 copies were ever found. She recalls that Songkyuni has only 1 copy, and she saw nothing unusual in it. She suspects the diary's author is the world's creator, just as a dark-haired boy asks how she accessed a library. He seems nervous as he asks if the library is truly that important. He describes it as a vault of national history and knowledge, shocked she brought their master there. He marvels at their master's actions, while the princess pouts at her desk. Overwhelmed by the situation, she finds it all deeply confusing. A man holds her as she wonders if his kindness is genuine or a prelude to betrayal. She concludes that she simply cannot trust this sudden change. The boy interrupts her thoughts, announcing it's time to check her homework. She looks up in surprise, asking if he is all right. He's stunned by her top-level embroidery, but she nonchalantly calls it not bad. He boasts about being good at everything but swords, to which she dryly reminds him of her lukewarm praise. He adds that he also excels at drawing and crafts, finding his first attempt at embroidery fun. The princess looks flustered, asking if he is excited. A hand gestures to a beautiful floral embroidery, praising her talent. The boy with blue eyes blushes, a shy smile on his face. An adult tells him to move on, and the boy asks if it's really time. The boy's face lights up as he eagerly anticipates a swordsmanship lesson. His excitement fades to confusion. He stares at a writing brush and paper, realizing his mistake. The princess offers to learn writing on her own, but the blue-eyed boy instructs her to write what he dictates, leaving her puzzled. She winks playfully, announcing the topic as scenario, to the boy's confusion. Wearing glasses, the princess begins her 3rd lesson on survival situations. She presents a scenario. They're trapped in a burning, blocked house with their family nearby. She confidently instructs him to list the best steps for survival. The boy looks at the papers and asks how many scenarios she has planned. He is utterly stunned when she casually suggests just 100. He questions the number, and she clarifies with a grin that he needs to write 10 different responses for each of the 100 scenarios. She demands the work by tomorrow, leaving the boy completely shocked. She offers a reward. Once he's done, he can finally learn swordsmanship. He grimaces at the workload, but reluctantly agrees. Just as he agrees, a brown-haired boy appears outside, cheerfully calling for Chirpy to come and play. The brown-haired boy notices the other boy and realizes the princess has a guest. The scene darkens with a subtle, shimmering transition. The brown-haired boy asks the princess about studying literature with her big brother and why he's there now. He glares at the blue-eyed boy, questioning his lack of respect. The blue-eyed boy offers a formal greeting, and the brown-haired boy dismissively tells him to leave. The blue-eyed boy shouts in protest, demanding to know why his brother is there. Calling him a punk, the brown-haired boy says he's not there for boring texts, as the princess internally groans. A blindfolded man interrupts, urgently informing the brown-haired disciple that he has a message. The blindfolded man announces that the king is summoning the blue-eyed boy. The princess worries, wondering why her father would call for him and recalling their last conversation. She remembers the king speaking very highly of the blue-eyed boy. The blue-eyed boy turns to look at the princess. The brown-haired boy dismissively tells the other boy to go. The blue-eyed boy warns that he won't stand by if anyone hurts his sister, a threat the brown-haired boy finds amusing. The brown-haired boy shrugs off the threat, while the princess looks on with concern. The princess nervously addresses her big brother. She asks why he's there, hoping it's not just to brag or play again. He steps forward, declaring he came to listen to her. He crouches down, bringing his face close to hers. He reminds her that she asked him to tell her about himself. The princess is left speechless by his words. She realizes this is her chance to finally learn about her brothers, which explains her survival-focused talk earlier. He asks if she is starting to remember, and she meekly agrees. He stands to leave, and she quickly asks where he is going. He glances back with a slight nod. She pleads with him to wait, asking what he is doing. Thwack! He presents her with a wooden sword. Holding the sword, she thinks it's too big to be a useful weapon. The blue-eyed boy questions why his big brother is giving her the sword. The brown-haired boy coolly declares his intention to spar, shocking the princess. The blue-eyed boy protests, pointing out that she doesn't know swordsmanship. The brown-haired boy asks if she'll fight barehanded, leaving the princess completely baffled. He mentions hearing she's good at kicking, and she nervously asks if she should proceed. He recalls hearing she almost burst someone, as she internally fumes at the gossipers. The princess insists she'd obviously lose a sparring match against her big brother. She asks him if he knows about the talent of Joseon's greatest swordsman. The blue-eyed boy's eyes narrow as he internally confirms who the previous swordsman was. He recalls the swordsman's son disappearing after political turmoil, ending the swordsman's lineage. The brown-haired boy smiles, suggesting the next great swordsman could be a royal. Swoosh! Her eyes widen in shock as a wooden sword swings toward her. The sound of a powerful strike echoes through the air. He grins, crossing his wooden sword with hers as she thinks he's a crazy kid. She complains that her hand hurts, but he admits he's also inexperienced with a longsword. He declares he must have been mistaken about her as she looks away with a slight blush. He tightens his grip on the sword, musing about a royal becoming the next great swordsman. Clack! He adjusts her hold on the weapon, stating a true swordsman would know the proper grip. Looking at her, he admits he thought the rumors about her held some truth. He leans close, dismissing the princes she defeated as weaklings. With a serious expression, he announces that his doubts about her are gone. He curtly says, "Fine," and begins to walk away from her. As he agrees to spare her, she panics, wondering if he almost killed her over potential sword talent. She recalls a dark detail from the novel. Prince Suwon had brainwashed the greatest swordsman, who was her only protector. A chilling image of the tortured swordsman flashes in her mind, the only one who could challenge Suwon. She realizes Prince Suwon would eliminate any potential rival now, as he smirks in the present. The brown-haired boy stops, having just remembered something. He turns and questions her about the state of her palace, leaving her confused. He points out that she doesn't even know how to properly hold a sword. He lists her strange skills, demanding to know why she can do all those things. He takes a deliberate step toward her. The princess watches nervously as he closes the distance between them. He confronts her directly, asking what she's been collecting under her floor. Stunned, she asks how he knew, and he calmly reveals he searched her room. She wonders when he did it, and he explains it was while he was at Jonghak. He continues explaining his opportunity to search her room. The princess frantically tries to think of a plausible excuse. She blurts out that the items are her treasures, but he scoffs at her claim. He calls her collection trash, showing a broken comb and hair accessory, shocking her. She tearfully explains she only collected discarded things because she never had anything nice. He bluntly concludes her treasures are trash, and she furiously shouts back that they're not. He coldly asks if she's raising her voice at him, but she defiantly yells. Anyway, she doubles down, insisting her collection is treasure, not trash, as he watches silently. As he questions her, she firmly confirms that yes, they are her treasures. With a cruel smile, he tells her she's wrong, and that trash is just trash. He lectures that useless things are thrown away for a reason. He shouts that trash is just trash because keeping it is pointless. The princess is bewildered, wondering why he is so incredibly angry. His face shadowed, the boy thinks to himself that he doesn't understand at all. As she prepares to leave, she internally calls him a jerk, who is no different from trash himself. She fumes that the novel's final villain has absolutely no manners. He watches her leave, wondering if he managed the situation without causing trouble. The princess pauses, feeling that something about their interaction was very strange. The princess observes that Prince Suwon's movements seem a little awkward. She watches him train, noting his experience with a sword but his hesitation with forceful swings. The thought of his deep wounds crosses her mind. She wonders what kind of person would inflict such violence on a child. The princess stands quietly, lost in thought. Dismissing her worries, she reasons that the king could kill her anytime, anyway. Crash! A memory flashes of a porcelain cup shattering. In a flashback, a young Prince Suwon looks on, his face bruised. He calls out to his mother, but she coldly tells him not to speak to her. Trembling, the young prince desperately begs for her forgiveness. His mother looms over him with a stick, calling him worse than trash on the street. She coldly asks if she didn't always tell him to be the best. She scolds him for lacking academic talent and failing to be the best swordsman, declaring she regrets giving birth to him. Whack! The sound of a sharp blow echoes as she repeats her regret. As he lies beaten on the floor, his mother laments that she wasn't made queen and that her son should be sovereign, questioning why it can't be so. She furiously declares she gave birth to a son, unlike the other woman, and smashes furniture in a rage. With a final, violent blow, she screams that it's all because he is inadequate. Lying bruised and defeated, he recalls that this abuse began 3 years ago. The memory fades to a younger version of himself, reading peacefully before his mother's violence started. He furrows his brow in intense concentration while studying. Suddenly, he gasps in pain as an attendant rushes to his side, asking if he is all right. He weakly insists that he is fine. With bandaged hands, he stares ahead in a panic. He recalls his fear that everything would be over if his inability to read was discovered, feeling like useless trash to his mother. Back in the present, the princess confirms he is her big brother, thinking how she always wanted to see him. She looks up at him with a pure, beaming smile. As she expresses her happiness at meeting him, he internally scoffs, believing her arrogant words must be lies. He remembers her kind words from their previous encounters, still finding them hard to believe. He flashes back to an image of her as a toddler, laughing with pure joy. The scene lingers on the fine details of her traditional dress. Prince Suwon somberly tells the princess he won't be able to see her for a while. Stunned, she silently wonders what is going on. He clutches his hand, noticing a strange, fishy smell. His eyes widen in sudden, dawning horror. The princess's voice echoes in his memory, questioning his name. The memory reveals his mother standing over his fallen body, rod in hand. In the days that follow, Prince Suwon doesn't show his face at all. The princess notices that the other princes no longer bother her, and now just stare nervously. She focuses on her own problem. She is having trouble just holding the writing brush. Frustrated, she realizes this is an unexpected and annoying problem. Her small hands tremble as she struggles to grip the brush properly. With a sigh, she despairs over how difficult it is to draw a single stroke. A sudden voice interrupts her struggle, asking if she is doing well. She looks up to see her master, the head professor, smiling gently. The princess apologizes, blaming her own inadequacy for causing him worry. Her eyes dart nervously as she considers her other problem. The professor explains they think she's cute, but she internally fumes, doubting it. He gently points out that she hasn't managed to draw a single stroke yet. He declares her a once-in-a-century talent and asks if she was bored in class, causing her to panic internally. A man in white reports hearing the king accepted the J Nation's conditions. A man with purple eyes challenges the king's decision to cede the Jeju region. The king stands ominously with a flask as two women watch nervously. The purple-eyed man sternly reminds the other that he is the king of the nation. The king scoffs, calling the man an arrogant fool who thinks war victory makes him a king. The purple-eyed man calmly denies the accusation. Clang! The king explodes in rage over the man's defiant gaze, flipping a table in fury. He screams about always being compared to the man, a mere concubine's child. The king bitterly recalls his own misery the day the man abandoned his studies. He accuses the man of deliberately pretending to be an uncultured brute. The king furiously wishes the man had simply killed him instead of feigning loyalty. He claims he might have spared him if he hadn't tried to manipulate him. The man kneels, offering his life but begging the king to spare the people of Jeju. The king coldly reminds him that he, and not the man, is the true king. His hand on his sword, the king offers to gladly kill him right there. The king seizes the man's hat, declaring himself the sovereign who will rule as he pleases. He delivers a cruel ultimatum, threatening to take the man's wife upon his death. The purple-eyed man stares back coldly, asking if the king minds that. A memory reveals the king's warped logic, noting the man is always away at war. In a changed scene, the purple-eyed man, now emperor, asks if His Majesty slept well. His new status is confirmed as he is shown wearing the emperor's dragon-emblazoned robe. The emperor invites an official to sit, noting it's been a while since their last private meeting. An older official with a prominent mustache stands before the emperor. The emperor cuts to the chase, asking the official to state his business. The official surprises the emperor by stating he is there to discuss the princess. He recounts recently seeing the princess engaged in scholarly discussions at Sungkyunkwan. The official declares that even to his eyes, the princess's talent is unmatched. A flashback shows the young princess with bright purple eyes, overjoyed while reading a book. The emperor asks the official to state his request. The official asks for his son to have the opportunity to hold discussions with the princess. The emperor confirms he has heard the request correctly. The official suggests that the princess is in need of friends her own age. He argues that friends are different from her royal relatives at Jonghak. The emperor crosses his arms, considering the official's point that the princess needs a friend. He recalls that he sent her to Jonghak precisely so she could socialize. He remembers reports that she isolates herself and that he told her to read alone instead. The emperor agrees to the request and asks for the son's name. A new flashback begins, showing a young boy with long black hair crying in the rain. The tiny princess, hidden under a cloth, wonders if he's a black spirit. The boy tells her she has dirt on her face, making her gasp in surprise. She frantically wonders how the dirt got on her face. The boy chuckles, joking that she must be possessed by a ghost. He explains that no one else would be so dirty and soaked like a mountain ghost. The princess peeks from under her covering, her expression filled with concern. He kindly offers his hand, asking if she can stand. She takes his hand, gratefully accepting his help. He smiles and leads her forward, warning her to be careful on the slippery path. The princess wonders if this kind, well-dressed boy was a character in the original story. She looks up at him and timidly asks who he is. The boy smiles and formally introduces himself as Go-ji-won. As rain falls in a forest, someone suggests taking shelter. The princess and Go-ji-won sit together, waiting out the downpour. The princess silently confirms the boy's name is Go-ji-won. Go-ji-won wonders why he's getting involved with her as she looks away, flustered. He asks for her name character, but the princess declares it's a secret. Insisting fate brought them together, he asks what he should call her, and she reluctantly tells him to choose whatever he wants. He confirms if that's okay, and she agrees, privately questioning why it matters. He cheerfully remarks on their chance meeting, and she agrees with his assessment. Leaning closer, Go-ji-won asks what she'd like him to call her. The princess gets a sudden, ominous feeling about his question. She nervously asks if he's the Black Spirit, and he teases her about wanting that name as she furiously objects. He asks if any name besides Black Spirit is fine, and she reluctantly agrees. Go-ji-won asks if she's cold, but the princess insists she's fine. She thinks he's talkative, while he privately wonders why her ears are red. He presses, asking if she doesn't get cold easily, and she stammers that she doesn't. He asks if she was heading back to the palace, and her yes is followed by a panicked huh. Go-ji-won beams, happily confirming that she does live in the palace. She lies that she's just a palace maid, but he easily sees through her obvious deception. He wonders if he just needs to go to the palace to see her, while she frets about the implications. He questions her about her formal speech, and she explains that his etiquette is very strict. A small thought bubble shows him pondering her words. He leans in close, asking if speaking informally would make them friends. The princess bluntly states she doesn't do friendships, leaving him shocked. He recovers, suggesting they could become friends if they meet again in the future. He cheekily notes that she seems to be discouraging him. Getting annoyed, the princess suggests they stop talking, and he calmly agrees. She asks why he's there, and he explains that he came to gather herbs. He confirms he's gathering herbs and shows her his full basket. She identifies him as an herb gatherer, and he gives a vague agreement. Changing the topic, he asks if she likes rain, to which she gives a firm no. When he asks why, she explains that rain messes up her plans with unexpected events. He catches her specific wording, connecting it to the game of Go and asking if she plays. She confidently thinks she'd win anyway, while he thinks she's underestimating him. They share a quiet, thoughtful moment, looking at each other. Looking annoyed, Go-ji-won says their time was fun, but he should go back now. He tells her they should part ways here, as she can manage on her own. He shows concern for her injury, but she curtly insists she can handle it herself. He proposes meeting again, but she flatly refuses, saying they won't. He asks how she can be so sure, as she privately reflects on the unpredictability of life. Her thoughts reveal the truth. A text message confirms Go-ji-won doesn't exist in the original story. Realizing he won't be an ally, she questions his philosophical advice. As he says his goodbyes, the focus shifts to the dirt on her dress. The scene transitions, showing leafy branches against a gray sky. The princess walks away but stops, looking back to find Go-ji-won is still there. She furiously asks why he's following her, but he claims he's simply going the same way. Go-ji-won looks thoughtful, trailing off as he begins a question. He asks if she always avoids the main gate, and she defensively asks if that's a problem. The girl in the black hat says she won't say hello anymore, and tells the princess to take care, who stumbles back in surprise. Smirking, the girl in the hat thinks that while he's a jerk, he at least gives her space as a man. The princess muses that it's strange this person exists as they weren't in the original story. The girl in the hat smiles, realizing the princess is the first person she's met who isn't a threat or a recruitment target, and wishes her well. The princess is left completely baffled, wondering what just happened. With a final, serene smile, the mysterious girl in the black hat departs. A promotional page signals a brief pause in the narrative,